All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Cameron Tasai. I serve as the mayor representing the city of Pinole, and thank you for joining us. I now call the regular city council meeting of April 15th, 2025 to order. The city council adjourned the last meeting following the closed session city manager performance evaluation, and there was no reportable action from the closed session. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're willing and able, please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We are now on item 2 of the agenda, our land acknowledgement, which I will read aloud. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Ohlone people who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Ohlone elders, past, present, and future, who call this place Ohlone land, the land that Pinole sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Ohlone community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. We are now on item 3 of the agenda, roll call and city clerk's report. City Clerk Bell, good evening. Please go ahead.
Good evening. Mayor Sasai.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Tave.
Here.
Councilmember Martinez Rubin.
Here.
Councilmember Murphy.
Here.
Councilmember Toms.
Here.
City Manager Young.
Here.
City Attorney Kasher.
Here.
Mayor and Council, the agenda was posted on Thursday, April 10th at 4:30 p.m. with all legally required notices. A written comment was received in advance of the meeting, distributed to the council and staff, posted on our website, and is available to view for the public in the back of the chambers. Does the council have any conflicts on an agenda item this evening to report? Seeing none, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 4, and this evening we have one closed session item, 4A, Public Employee Performance Evaluation, Government Code 54957, Title City Manager. Please note that this item will be taken out of order, and the council will convene to the closed session at the conclusion of the public portion of the agenda following item number 13. Moving down to item number 6, which is public comment, citizens to be heard. Madam City Clerk, do we have any speakers?
Yes, thank you. Irma Ruport.
And quick reminder to folks that we allow up to 3 minutes per speaker to address any item not listed on the agenda, and individuals may not share or offer time to another speaker.
Public. And I'm here this evening. I'm a senior, very concerned with what's happening out there at the national and local level. I want to thank Councilmember Devin Murphy for last council meeting saying national situations do affect what happens at the local level. I totally agree with you. What's happening right now, I attended the hands-off a couple of weeks ago in Hercules, and I met an 86-year-old lady at the corner protesting and marching for her 401k. She doesn't want that taken away from her. That's the only thing she has for living purposes. And this past couple of weeks, there were 2 cities, Pleasanton dealing with a deficit with eyes on the library cuts and fire station. City of San Pablo right here having issues with money. We're in a recession, guys. Get it straight, get a reality. We have no money to spend. We need to watch what we've got, protect what we've got, and I've been here over and over asking the financial status of the city. Yes, we're fine. How fine? I don't get it. We need to get on the ball with our budget reporting every quarterly. Last week, the market fell twice, almost bottom, and a lot of people lost their pension. A lot of you are paying into your pension. As a former government employee, federal employee, I've been through a recession. Yes, the government ran out of money 20, 30 years ago. Some of you too young to remember. And I can tell you, it's not fun. The city of Pinole has gone through a recession. And some of you were here, and some of your employees were here. Believe me, it's not a pretty sight. Half of the employees were gone. We had to release half of them. So, Mayor, I know my time is up, and I just want to make sure, guys, get a reality check. We don't have money to spend. We need to get these facts on the table and get this budget on board, because guess who's going to take the rap on this one? is the elected officials, not the city people, where it should come from, because they have all that information, but they don't let us know about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
No other comment.
You said one other comment?
No other public
No
comment.
other comment. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 7, reports and communications. First is our mayor's report. So I hope everyone is having a wonderful spring and April so far. This month attended some committee meetings. One includes the Contra Costa Mayor's Conference. Another includes the Westcat Board of Directors. That one was really insightful just because we got a lot of feedback from the community. We had an incredible consultant come through and just give a comprehensive overview about input from the public as it relates to our services as Westcat and where we can improve and what we've been doing really, really well. So a lot of information about our service area, how diverse we are, the needs of the community. If you want to get a copy of the presentations, please email me and happy to provide that. And then second, I also went to my alma mater, DVC, Diablo Valley College, just for a talk with some of the students there. And they invited me to talk about civic engagement, why it's so important to be involved at every level of government, to provide input, to provide your voice, and also how to really be involved more deeply, whether it's on board or commission, or whether it's coming to just at City Hall to share your voice. So just want to thank the folks from DVC for inviting me there. I want to also invite folks to the Earth Day Walk. That's going to be at Fernandez Park this Saturday, April 19th, from 9 to 11 a.m. I'll be there. It's going to be a very fun event. It's a way for us to just be in a community together and really dial in on the importance of conserving our environment, protecting our environment, and I hope you all will join me there. Lastly, I just want to address an incident that happened. It went unfortunately viral yesterday. There was a dispute that happened between some community members in Pinole, and the video is there and it's public. Unfortunately, there was racist, anti-Black, anti-immigrant rhetoric being used. And I'll just say this here right now that we as a city council have time and time again been very upfront about the fact that we condemn any sort of hate in our community in any form. If you have any sort of inclination to say those things and those remarks and that type of hateful rhetoric, please do not come here in Pinole. It is not welcome. So we just wanted to make sure that's public. One thing that we did as a council last year is we mandated in every single public facility we have in Pinole, we have resources from the California versus Hate Department. And you'll see flyers like this, whether it's in a youth center or here in City Hall, informing folks in all different languages of resources that the state has in terms of a hotline, a website, and a portal to log hate incidents and hate crimes. And that's a way for you to really get resources that are culturally responsive and also to get the support you need and make sure that folks are held accountable. So just reiterating that those type of hateful rhetorics are not welcome in our city. Staff is taking a closer look at that incident and just want to thank PD for their response to that. And that's my mayor's report. So I'll pass it along. Actually, first go to City Council Committee reports and communications. We have none. So we'll start our committee reports with Councilmember Martinez-Rubin.
Thank you, Mayor Sasai. I as well attended the Westcat board meeting as one of your city's representatives. And for everyone's information, you can access the Westcat Evolution, which was the study that, or the initiative that the consultants of Westcat presented about at the board meeting on April 10th, and to which Mayor Sasai alluded. There is a report that's part of the board meeting packet. It's titled Public Engagement Results Summary, and anyone can access it there. For more specific, detailed information, either Mayor Sasai or I, as representatives on that board, have received a copy of the consultant's slide deck, and either of us is welcomed emails with a request for those particulars. So it was an interesting presentation. That is one of several that we anticipate will be presented as the work continues to evolve in gathering information and compiling both what the community's input was, as well as financial related or fiscal related matters, which in combination will inform future direction about the services of Westcat. Other than that, there was a different type of meeting that I attended as a representative or invited elected official. I attended a community Seder, and a community Seder is a Jewish observation of Passover, which is celebrated about this time during the year. And at Temple Hillel, the elected officials were invited, so we get a sense of the different customs and traditions of a different sector of the community that we may not ordinarily visit. And I had the fortune of sitting with both across and next to a couple of people who reflected some of the concerns about the consequences of the state of affairs at a national level. I sat next to a researcher, clinical researcher who's doing research in Alzheimer's science and the effects of cuts of federal funding on the work related to that. And if we think about it at any one point or another, our lives are impacted by those cuts, directly or indirectly. And then across from me was someone who works in fiscal matters related to housing. And also we shared some both our interests and our concerns about fiscal related matters as they relate to housing and the availability of housing. And not only that, but also had some conversations about what it means to make decisions in the short term locally, and the importance of regarding broad community impacts in the long term. So if at any point there are conversations here about such issues as rent control, for example, there might be differing opinions about that because of how and what it is that we base our decisions on. Some immediate returns are not always the best returns in the long term. So that's something that I have noticed and I consider to be important to bear in mind and also to inform any conversations that we might have on that specific topic in the future. So other than those two meetings, preparing or continuing to prepare for an important set of events as they continue in this month of April. So happy Passover, everyone who celebrates that, and happy Easter to those of you who celebrate Easter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem Tave.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Murphy.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. A few updates. So I wanted to just inform the community that today, actually, I attended the Board of Supervisors meeting for the Contra Costa Board. But it was a really robust discussion. One item in particular that came up that I think is of interest to our community is around the African American Wellness and Resource Hub. Over the last 16 months, the county has been working with a steering committee that was appointed by the Board of Supervisors to essentially create an African American resource and wellness hub centered on primarily a location in Antioch with satellite and substations in West County that would focus on addressing historical disparities in African American health in this county. What's really exciting is that at this point the county has committed $7.5 million to this initiative, which we should all really celebrate because again, wellness and prevention is a great way for us to save money in other realms, including emergency health care as well as the criminal justice reform system. But the continued push that many council members and mayors and local electeds and special districts in this county have been fighting for is just the continuation of funding. What we know is that African Americans in this county in particular, across many disparities and when it comes to many different criminal violations, are victims. Whether it's homicide, whether it's, again, health disparities, we're seeing African Americans unfortunately be the victims of so many different issues in this county and disproportionately compared to any other race or ethnicity. And so myself and many other electeds, including the entire city of Hercules, have written letters to the Board of Supervisors to continue pushing for implementation of this. Again, right now the main hub would be centered in Antioch, but there are many conversations of exploring different satellite and substations, including right here in Pinole. So it's going to be it's a continued conversation. But today the county did go through the first view and file of their feasibility report to identify different real estate and parcels that this hub would be centered in again, the city of Antioch, but also the exploration of the governance model. So if you are interested in a topic like this would be something to continue, of course, reaching out to the Board of Supervisors or the county staff, and just paying attention again to our Board of Supervisors in terms of moving this conversation forward. But I'm really honored to, join in with so many local electeds in this county to make sure that that's a priority countywide for our city, but also for other jurisdictions as well. Also, always excited to give an update about MCE and our work. Since our last meeting as a city council, MCE did host our inaugural Because of Youth Festival. Traditionally, during the month of April, MCE has done a youth-oriented campaign. We usually center young people's advocacy within our region, which includes Napa, Solano, Contra Costa, and Marin counties. And we traditionally have really elevated, again, the stories of young people across the counties in their work around climate action. Well, this year we did a little something different. We hosted a Because of Youth Festival at Contra Costa College, which really invited young people not just to tell their stories, but be amongst each other in building power and explore climate justice pathways in our local communities. So participants were able to learn about internship and volunteer opportunities. They were able to connect with guest speakers, and of course participate in games and live music. Very, very exciting program to start now that we have kind of transitioned our campaign into this program. But again, always inspiring to hear the incredible storytelling of our young people, including our Pinole Valley High School students who were in attendance as well. And last but not least, our MCE board technical committee met since our last city council meeting, and I have a really exciting program that our technical committee has decided to move forward with the board, and that's around what is called a proposed hourly flex pilot. If you're interested in saving money, this will be a program that you'd want to pay attention to. The hourly flex pricing is a pilot program that offers a way for lower energy costs while promoting cleaner energy and a more reliable grid. So this pilot program is essentially risk-free. Its billing is based on your current rate plan, and so you'll receive a credit for the difference if you would have paid less on the hourly flexing. With hourly flexing, essentially your electricity prices are the same or lower than comparable to your rate plans, but during certain times of the day, the pricing changes. So prices are likely going to be higher due to higher demand on the grid, but they do vary in terms of the set day. So really the easy way to get involved in this program or to take advantage of the credits, which I think most Pinole residents would be really interested in, is knowing that this pilot program is started on November 1st and is accessible now to our residents and goes until December 31st of 2027. It's available to qualifying agricultural, business, and residential customers. And again, it is risk-free. You will not have an increase in your billing. At most, you will have, or at best, of course, you will have credits that go back to your bill. If you would have, and of course, we encourage, of course, customers to stay on the duration of the pilot as a whole. So if you do participate, of course, you can, opt back out, but we encourage folks to really go throughout the program and to really receive the highest benefits for the customers. If you are interested, of course, you can reach out to the website. You feel free to also email me directly, but if you go to the mcecleanenergy.org website, that's where you'll get all of the details about this incredible program. And of course, again, we know that, electricity prices and energy prices are rising. And so we're trying to be as creative as possible as a board of directors from the electricity standpoint to make sure that we're saving and protecting our customers and again, hoping to compete with some lower energy costs while still promoting clean energy. So just wanted to give that report. We do have a MCE board meeting on Thursday night for folks who are interested. Again, mcecleanenergy.org is our website where our board agendas and meeting minutes are held. So I'll continue the work to serve you that way. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thoms.
Thank you, Mayor. Since the last meeting, I did attend the event that our city staff put on, and that's the extravaganza, where there was an egg hunt, and I am just so overwhelmingly appreciative to our community services department for putting that together. There were so many families, so many kids. I think we probably need more volunteers so that we're more even with a bunch of 4 to 6-year-olds especially. I took 2 grandsons there, and they had a fabulous time, and it was very well attended, and the program was just very well put together. So thank you to staff. Last week I attended the West County Forum. It's a group of mostly retired leaders, but there's topics of interest in West County. The speaker last week was the West County representative from the Office of Emergency Services, kind of going over what the protocol is in the event of an emergency, and talking about some areas that will be changing, and the connection between the County Office of Emergency Services, the state, and the feds, and then also trickling down to local jurisdictions and volunteers. So that was a very good discussion. Staying with the topic of emergencies, tomorrow at 9 o'clock in El Cerrito, we have the East Bay Wildfire Coalition that meets, and on our agenda we're going to be talking about policies related to Zone 0, and that means looking at landscaping and other flammable items that you might have from 0 to 6 feet of your property. To look at policies related to that, because that's really where there's a significant hazard in that area. And we will also receive a presentation from PG&E officials on fire reduction. So that meeting is in El Cerrito, and it's also on Zoom that folks can attend. Also this week, I will be attending Cal Cities to have a legislative discussion on fire issues and insurance. And then last but not least, I attended Pinole Swim Center, or Pinole Seals swim practice. Last night was the opening evening for swim practice, and then the pool opens for the public this weekend. So I believe it's at noon, and I'll wait till the city manager's report, but the pool will be open for lap swimming and recreational swimming on weekends from April till June. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you for all the reports. We're on to item 7D, council requests for future agenda items. Do we have any requests from the council?
None for me.
Thank you very much. On to item number 7E, city manager's report. City manager, please go ahead.
All right, thank you. So I also want to echo the thanks to Community Services for an amazing egg hunt, and also thank all of staff, Public Works and PD, and everybody who was involved in that event. There was a fantastic turnout, and so it was great to see so many community members there enjoying themselves. So this weekend is also going to be an eventful one in Pinole, as the mayor and Councilor Toms also spoke to. We will be celebrating the season opening of the swim center on Saturday, April 19th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. So please come and learn about our swim center. We are going to be offering everything from pool party reservations to swim lessons and lap swim. And the first 25 participants there will receive free entry, so come on down. Also, Pinole Earth Walk is this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., starting at Fernandez Park. So please come and take a pledge to protect the planet with us as we walk along the beautiful Pinole Creek. But following the walk, there will also be eco activities, including wildlife ambassadors and community art projects with the Pinole artisans. So please plan to spend some time with us on Saturday. So also, to celebrate Earth Day, members of the police department will be at the Pinole Library on Thursday, April 17th at 10:30 a.m. to read an Earth-themed book during family story time. So hope to see a lot of family members there with our police. So just a heads up, PD has begun issuing warnings to vehicles found in violation of the daylighting law. And that the daylighting law prohibits parking within 20 feet of a crosswalk's approach on the approach side, or 15 feet where a curb extension exists. And we have some diagrams. We're continuing to try to explain that, but please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Right now, we are just going to be doing warnings to try to educate the community and explain how this works. So no citations will be issued right now, but we will probably start looking at it, issuing citations around May 6th or so. But right now, also, May 6th, which will be our next agenda meeting, will be our first draft of the budgets. So everyone will get to see that. If any community members have any questions, please let us know. Feel free to come to my office hours, which are still from 3 to 4 on every Thursday. And we're also on May 13th going to have a budget workshop that we want to invite all community members to, that if you're interested in asking any questions, and that will be time for council to really kind of get into the weeds and ask us questions there as well. I also want to thank Public Works. Over the past week, they have completed a substantial amount of work working on starting to cover up our graffiti in several areas, including Pinole Creek Trail and Fernandez Park, as well as repairing potholes and minor road repairs on Deutsch Avenue. And they're going to be continuing to do these road repairs. Please keep in mind, these are temporary road repairs while we are working on a larger road maintenance plan and a larger road rehabilitation plan that we'll be bringing forward in the next budget. And finally, May 17th will be Community Services Day, so mark your calendar because we hope to have a lot of volunteers there. I know that Pinole does an amazing job always turning out and doing wonderful things. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last on reports is item 7F, the City Attorney's Report. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. City Clerk, do we have any public comments on item number 7?
Thank you. We do have a online comment, Rafael Menes.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, members of the public. My apologies, I couldn't join you in person tonight, still dealing with leftover tax issues. I had a couple questions about events coming up in the next week. First, when I looked at the city's events calendar this morning, it said that Coffee with the Cops was going to be on Wednesday, but I don't see that there now. Was that canceled? And let's see, there was another question I had with regards to events. Oh yes, the Finance Subcommittee meeting. Do we know when that's going to be or if that's happened already? I've tried looking on the agendas page and I don't see anything other than last year's Finance Subcommittee meeting. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And City Manager, would you like to make comment on the event?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Coffee with the Cops is still happening, so we'll check and see why that might not be showing up.
Thank you.
Through the mayor, I can also announce that the Finance Subcommittee meeting is rescheduled for the 24th at 3 p.m. and the website is going to be updated accordingly.
Thanks for the update.
Workshops before, and we get surprised by the time we get there. We need notes so we can get our own questions put together, and we just don't need a presentation. We need back and forth questions and information. I'd appreciate it if we could get that before.
Thank you very much. All right. Any other public comments from the public?
No other public comments.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Moving on to item number 8, we'll start with proclamations. The first is Earth Day. So we'll go ahead and read that out as a council now. Earth Day, April 22, 2025. Whereas April 22 is celebrated globally as Earth Day, a day dedicated to reflecting upon our responsibility to protect and sustain the natural world for future generations. And
Whereas this giving planet is abundant with shared resources for all people in life when respectfully harnessed and nurtured, and should not be exploited and depleted, but rather sustained, protected, and conserved for present and future generations by working with nature and not against it. And
Whereas we recognize that our actions today significantly impact on the health of our planet, its ecosystems, and all forms of life that depend on a healthy environment. And whereas the natural circular systems of Earth can offer lessons and solutions to rethink and evaluate our current unsustainable systems and transition to ones that revere and mirror natural systems while creating an economy and job market that is cleaner and greener. And
Whereas engaging in local and global efforts to combat climate change, conserve biodiversity, and reduce pollution is essential to creating a more sustainable future. And whereas the Earth Team was founded on Earth Day in 1994 and established at Pinole Valley High School in 2013, Pinole Valley High School students Angela Tran, Camila Castillo, Caroline Ariola, Natalie Zumlas, Ahmad Durham, Donovan Bonte, Melanie Sains, and Dominica Costa continue the mission to empower urban youth to become lifelong environmental stewards through experiential education, skills development, and the building of community connections. And
Whereas the impacts of climate change and the increasing extreme weather events are a direct result of environmental exploitation by human beings, yet human beings also possess the knowledge, the power, and the resources to reverse damage and heal the planet and protect its existence for generations to come. And whereas the 2025 theme for Earth Day is Our Power, Our Planet, focusing on renewable energy and urging a global shift toward clean energy sources.
Now, therefore, I, Cameron Sasai, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, on behalf of the City Council and the entire City of Pinole, hereby proclaim April 22, 2025 as Earth Day in the City of Pinole and urge all citizens to recognize their power as stewards of the earth, participate in events that promote environmental health, and join together in the quest to build a sustainable world for generations to come. Thank you. And we have some recipients for this beautiful proclamation. If you want to join us in the front, we'd love to have you join us for a picture.
looking sharp. Where's my shirt?
Everybody squeeze in. Me and the photographer are trying to get y'all's picture. Get it together. Everybody, looky cookies. Look at Miss Fiona.
Can we try to have 2 rows this time?
If you are vertically challenged and you know who you are, come on to the front. If you are tiny and you, please don't make me call your name. You are vertically challenged. Come to the front.
We can have the students if we can just kneel like this on the ground.
There you go. Come on. Look, there you go. Go ahead. You gonna have to drop down, friend. You the mayor. I'm not gonna make you drop down, but you are vertically challenged. Go ahead in there. Push it on in. Push it on.
That's great. Thank you guys.
All right, hold on. Now, how was that, Fiona?
This is fabulous.
Look at Miss Fiona.
Okay, everyone say cheese.
Don't move. All right, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. We cute. 1, 2, 3. We cute.
right, thank you so much. I just want to check if any of the students want to say a few words.
It's right there on that microphone. You want to say something?
If you feel comfortable. Oh, and then you just go to the podium right there so you can get the mic too. Thanks.
We had a presentation prepared that we shared some slides for. I'm not sure if this is the right time to do that or if there's a later time for that. But yeah, I can just say that, I've been the coordinator of Pinole this year. This is a really fantastic program. These students have really been leaders all year in sort of driving the change that they want to see in their communities. We're going to be out at the Earth Walk this weekend. If everyone wants to come up, we'll have a table, opportunity to do a little arts and crafts with these students, talk to them about the work they've been doing all year. But I'm just so proud of all of them. The work they've been doing is amazing. They really have, I think, a vision for the future that is sort of environmentally friendly and inclusive and inspiring in so many ways. So I hope you all come out and talk to us this weekend, and I'm looking forward to their presentation shortly.
Thanks so much. I also want to acknowledge that we have our representative here in the audience right now, Honorable Trustee Jamila Smith-Folds, right there in the pink sweater. Trustee, do you want to share any quick words about Earth Day at all and the students' involvement?
Pinole has always been leaders in the district. Pinole Valley High School is the reason why the calendar is named Indigenous People Day. Pinole Valley High School, with their African American event that they have that's so inclusive and includes all the clubs that Michelle Lamans puts on in February during Black History Month. Pinole has been a leader in the district, and I expect nothing less from these students. And with your fabulous administration that you have at Pinole Valley High School, continue to lead with your voice, lead with your power, and the planet is yours. We've already messed it up. Sorry, it's on you guys to fix it. So I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Arbor Day. So we'll read that out loud as a council as well. Arbor Day, April 25, 2025. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And
whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And
whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And
whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And
whereas while most holidays celebrate something that has already happened and is worth remembering, Arbor Day represents a hope for the future. The simple act of planting a tree represents a belief that the tree will grow to provide us with clean air, water, cooling shade, habitat for wildlife, healthier communities, and endless natural beauty, all for a better tomorrow.
now, therefore, I, Cameron Sasai, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, on behalf of the City Council and the entire City of Pinole, do hereby proclaim April 25, 2025 as Arbor Day in the City of Pinole, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. Thanks so much. And for these next proclamations, we'll be giving to recipients after the council meeting. Next up, we have Autism Acceptance Month. And give me 1 second just to load it up right here. We'll read it out as a council. Autism Acceptance Month, thank you. April 2025. Whereas April is Autism Acceptance Month, and whereas autism spectrum disorder, ASD, is a developmental disability that can cause significant social, communication, and behavioral challenges. And
whereas we celebrate difference, promote acceptance, and spread knowledge about people living with autism, and Whereas about 1 in every 54 children are affected by autism, and the disability can affect anyone, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, or socioeconomic background. And
Whereas autism can take an emotional, physical, and financial toll on the families and children affected. And whereas until recent years, autism was considered to be a condition with poor prognosis. Now, research shows that early care and intervention are key to helping those who are diagnosed with autism progress towards an improved quality of life. And
whereas significant progress has been made in the last 30 years in the areas of research, medication, diagnosis, and therapies for autism, and the effort to address autism continues as doctors, therapists, and educators help individuals with autism and their families adjust to its challenges. And whereas America is founded on the idea that all people are created equal and deserve to be treated equally throughout their lives. And
whereas Autism Acceptance Month recognizes that autism is more than a diagnosis, it is an identity, community, and lived experience that encompasses both challenges and triumphs. And whereas the Autism Society of America is proud to celebrate Autism Acceptance Month, continuing their commitment to #CelebrateDifferences throughout April and beyond.
Now, therefore, I, Cameron Sasai, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, on behalf of the City Council and the entire City of Pinole, proclaim April 2025 as Autism Acceptance Month and encourage all citizens to participate in the annual observance of Autism Acceptance Month in the hope that it will lead to a better understanding of the disability and encourage our residents to become better educated and informed about programs, services, and opportunities to support individuals with autism. Thanks. Thanks so much. And want to thank Councilor Thomas for introducing these next two proclamations. It's appreciated. The first is Multiple Myeloma Awareness Month, March 2025. Whereas multiple myeloma, or myeloma, is a cancer of plasma cells in the bone marrow, and it's called multiple because it can occur at various sites in the body. And whereas multiple myeloma causes a variety of adverse health effects, including a weakened immune system, anemia, kidney damage, and bone deterioration. And
whereas multiple myeloma affects approximately 35,000 to 36,000 new cases in the United States annually, and globally it is estimated at 188,000 new cases per year. And
whereas this disease is most common in men and individuals between the ages of 40 to 70, and is more prevalent in African American individuals compared to other racial groups. And
whereas although a cure has not been developed, great strides have been made in the development of the new innovative treatments to effectively manage the disease, leading to remission and improved quality of life in many patients. And
whereas Multiple Myeloma Awareness Month is an opportunity to provide further education so that new cases can be more readily detected and promptly treated, improving health outcomes and bringing comfort to patients and their families.
now, therefore, I, Cameron Sasai, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, on behalf of the City Council and the entire City of Pinole, do hereby proclaim March 2025 as Multiple Myeloma Awareness Month and encourage all Pinole citizens to observe this month by raising awareness and educating yourselves and others. Thank you. Now, last but not least, we have our proclamation for Parkinson's Awareness Month, April 2025. Whereas Parkinson's disease is a chronic, progressive neurological disease and is the second most common neurodegenerative disease in the United States, and whereas Parkinson's disease is estimated to affect approximately 1 million people in the United States, and the prevalence will rise to 1.2 million by 2030. And
whereas Parkinson's disease is the 14th leading cause of death in the United States, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and whereas it is estimated that the economic burden of Parkinson's disease is at least $52 billion annually, including direct and indirect costs, including treatment, Social Security payments, and lost income to patients and family members. And
Whereas research suggests the cause of Parkinson's disease is a combination of genetic and environmental factors, but the exact cause and progression of the disease is still unknown. And whereas there is no objective test or biomarker for Parkinson's disease, and there is no cure or drug to slow or halt the progression of the disease. And
whereas the symptoms of Parkinson's disease vary from person to person and can include tremors, slowness of movement and rigidity, difficulty with balance, swallowing, chewing, and speaking, cognitive impairment and dementia, mood disorders, and a variety of other non-motor symptoms. And whereas World Parkinson's Day on April 11, 2025, will highlight the story of the tulip becoming the official symbol of Parkinson's, with a focus on awareness and support. And
whereas the International Association for Parkinson's Disease and Related Disorders 2025 will feature a program focused on clinical and scientific sessions revolving around the theme Empowering Scientists and Clinicians, Accelerating Discovery and Care Innovation.
Now, therefore, I, Cameron Sassai, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, on behalf of the City Council and the entire City of Pinole, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Parkinson's Awareness Month in the City of Pinole, and I urge all citizens to increase their understanding of the disease and support all people living with Parkinson's. Thanks so much. Now that will cover it for our proclamations for this evening. We'll move on to item 8B, presentations. The first that we have is item 8B1, which is Framework for Enhancing Climate Education at Pinole Valley High School by the PVHS Earth Team. So welcome, we'll pass it to staff. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and members of the public. Tonight we have Pinole Earth Team interns, Angela, Camilla, Caroline, Natalie, Ahmad, Donovan, Melanie, and Dominique, who will be presenting on the framework for enhancing climate education at Pinole Valley High, with a focus on climate resilience strategies and education.
Welcome in. Thanks so much for being here.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Natalie Shumlas, and we are Earth Team. We are here today to present our climate literacy framework. As for who we are and what we do, we're a youth Earth Team internship and a nonprofit organization that focuses on empowering the youth to become environmental stewards. We plan to achieve this through sharing our environmental knowledge throughout our community, and we'll ultimately achieve this goal through promoting different pathways into college, and whether that be environmental science or technology careers, we're gonna spread our peer-to-peer education and share environmental knowledge with one another. Oh.
If you need them to do next slide, just say next
Can you go to the
slide.
next slide, please? That's not mine.
The next
Oh,
one.
the one after that, please.
Next slide.
Okay, so our climate literacy framework consists of three major things, which is a purpose, our key focus, and how we're going to involve our community. The purpose of our framework is to educate students on climate literacy and to make them aware of the challenges that are being faced and how they can contribute towards it. Our key focus is to tackle environmental challenges not only within Pinole, but within West Contra Costa and the Bay Area, which include air pollution, wildfire prevention, and litter pollution. And to get the students and community involved in this, we'll be doing a number of things such as implementing our events within the curriculum and having community-based events for the community and students to engage in. Next slide.
As stated before, our climate literacy framework aims to tackle local issues, which include fire prevention and rising sea levels. According to the State Fire Marshal, Pinole is considered to be a very high fire severity zone, growing due to climate-causing droughts and extended wildfire seasons. Rising sea levels are also a relevant issue as they lead to potential floods that put Pinole at risk of hazardous chemical leaks, endangering the lives of more than 11,000 residents. Next slide, please.
So within our schools, we plan to first expand recycling programs. So this can be done by adding more recycling bins and trash cans around our campuses to ensure there is consistent access to trash cans to be properly disposed. Next, we also plan to promote the use of reusable materials. So typically a lot of schools use sorry, I'm so nervous. Reusable. So the next step we plan to take is to promote the use of reusable materials. Schools typically use a lot of single-use plastics and single-use utensils, and it's not really good for the environment, so if they're not properly disposed. So in order to fix this, we thought it would be a good plan to resort to promoting the use of reusable materials, specifically reusable utensils, reusable water bottles, reusable containers. Next, we also thought it would be a good idea to make it mandatory for students to take a class that is environmentally based to educate them on the environment. These classes can be about biology, chemistry, environmental justice classes, or environmental science classes. Finally, we plan to introduce a 3-strike policy, and it's basically a policy where if a student is caught littering the first 2 times, it's considered a warning. But if a student is caught littering the 3rd time, it would result in mandatory community service or detention. And through these steps, we can make Pinole Valley a more sustainable and clean for future generations. Next slide.
In terms of community involvement, some ways that students and adults can help with our team's missions can be through community science projects, which allow students to monitor the effects of climate change on their community. And it also it fosters collaboration and promotes public engagement. There's also enforcing the transition to eco-friendly heat pumps through utility credit discounts or PG&E credits, and this can reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. There's also letting students calculate their community's own carbon footprints, and this can help students become aware of their actions and reduce the amounts of emissions in the atmosphere. And there's also creating more public parks like the one near our library.
Next slide. And to implement our plan, we plan to get involvement from our school board and local communities such as Friends of Pinole Creek Watershed, New Voices Are Rising, the Rotary Club, and our school's local gardening club. And to make sure that our plan is working, we plan to collect data from staff and students to get their feedback on how we can improve our plan and to see the effects it's having on the community. Thank you. Next slide.
So these steps would essentially be our implementation plan for this framework. So step 1 would be getting approval from Earth Team and Pinole Watershed regarding the validity of our framework. And as for the next step, it would just be garnering local support from organizations that were mentioned in the last slide. And then on to step 3, it would be pitching the climate literacy framework to school officials and presenting it in front of the student body. And then the last step, if everything goes well, it would be to implement the climate literacy framework. Next slide, please.
Good afternoon. Hello, my name is Caroline, and our literacy plan calls for students and future generations to step up and take action. With doing so, not only would we help to work towards our end goal of bridging this gap that we see in climate literacy, but it would also give these students and future generations a general and ground level understanding of what climate science actually is. This is all in hope that our future generations will be more educated and mindful of the environmental issues that are happening around them. They can hopefully find it within themselves to care and take action towards giving back to our planet. And this can be done through simple actions, whether it's putting eco-friendly practices into play in day-to-day actions, or even finding any interest or pursuing a career in an environmental field, which our framework will hopefully inspire. Next slide, please. And then to conclude everything up, for our next steps, we would be monitoring to ensure our progress. And by doing so, as mentioned before, we would be looking at observations within like students, which is like visual surveys around campus, and digital surveys as well, which would be distributed among students and staff to make sure that we see reduced litter rates within our school campus. Another thing that we would do is to also send out surveys to kind of get feedback on the framework itself. We want to know that students are enjoying the framework that we're implementing and not just learning it because we're implementing it. We want them to care about it, and we want them to care about our planet as well. That's our end goal. Now, something that can be done in our support would be to take action. Any action, as small as big, is a step towards change, and saving our Earth is a collective initiative among all. Another thing is keeping an open mind will also greatly support us. As City Council Pinole, we please ask you to consider and support our initiative as well as the benefits that come with the enactment and application of our framework. We would like to thank you for your time, and we hope that our curriculum is something that you guys find as beneficial as we do for our future generation. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Before we go to council questions, I just want to make sure to commend you all for the time it took, the work it took to prepare this wonderful presentation, and also just to be here and of course, inform our community about the work you're doing, but also the work in the ground that you're doing as well. That work is really important to the community, to preserve our environment. So I just want to thank you all for your leadership, each and every one of you. So I have some questions. I'm going to pass it along to Councilor Toms, and we'll go to the right for any questions.
No questions. I just want to encourage you to keep going. I just retired from a career after getting my degree in environmental studies and geography, and had a long career. And it's a career that's really expanding a lot in different jurisdictions. So I would just encourage you to keep going. There's a lot of work ahead, in the future for all of you.
Thank you. Councilmember Murphy, any questions or comments?
Thank you, Mayor. Great presentation. I'm loving the olive green as well. That is like so in trend right now, and y'all got it perfect. It looks great. You all look wonderful, and thank you so much for your feedback. And I love that you call it a framework, right? Because when I think about frameworks, I think about like setting the intention, but also knowing that any community organizing, you may change the framework, right? You may see that your peers may see something different, and so it's an ongoing process. My question to you all, of course, is we also, as a city council, have a framework, and we call that our Climate Action and Adaptation Plan. And, I've been on this council for about 5 years. This has been kind of the work I've really wanted to do. Just being on the city council has just been about climate action and building green jobs. And so I'm wondering, my question to you all is, have you read the City of Pinole's Climate Action and Adaptation Plan?
Have we read it? I believe we have not read it, but we would love to read it. It sounds so interesting, and I feel like it really goes with the work that we're trying to do within our school.
Awesome. Well, you all can help me help you help me by reaching out maybe to Capil, who has done so much, our staff has done so much incredible work to facilitate dialogues over the last 4 years to start a climate action and adaptation plan in Pinole. And part of this has been our direction to our staff, but also our direction to working with our community partners, including the Earth Team, because your probably previous advisor was a part of our efforts to set out a climate action and adaptation plan. But I would encourage you to reach out and read through that, because that would also help us be a better partner in alignment. So when I hear you say, for example, that you want to have more recycling bins at your school, that's something that we serve, myself and Vice Mayor Tafe serve on the recycling board, Recycle More, and so we can play a part of that type of work. But we hear your framework, of course. So if you can help us and hear our framework, maybe we can kind of identify certain pieces of our plan that we can help out with, and we'll find more alignment. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I think our staff, Capil, probably be a great person to reach out to. You can obviously reach out to any of us as a council to just kind of help and facilitate that dialogue, but would love to see some of the time that we overlap. I'll also say to the council member Tom's statement, your previous advisor was a IRF team advisor. She actually works now in San Pablo and does some local government work. So you're in a true, I'd say pipeline, but really you're in a true wave in a movement around climate resiliency and adaptation. And I don't want that to be dismissed in your age or where you come from. It really is such a beautiful opportunity for you all to take leadership and charge right here, right now. You're doing it. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Murphy. And yes, the merch looks amazing. Who do I get in contact to get one of those shirts? Because I want to wear one on Saturday.
Or Noah.
Oh, we actually have somebody. Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Just want to say thank you for presenting. I think there's a lot of alignment. The organization's called Recycle More, that we sit on this board and basically decide, you know, with other cities, there's individuals from Richmond, El Cerrito, Hercules, and San Pablo that all sit on this board that trying to manage the, and I think we have something on the agenda in regards to that. But the organization is working with the community to try to figure out how we're handling waste. And so there might be opportunities like Councilmember Murphy mentioned for alignment, and how we support you. Really, leadership is about support. Right? How do we get you what you need to grow? And by providing documents like this, it helps us really understand the needs. And I want to thank you guys for putting that together in the presentation. I'm going to do a short plug for environmental engineering. I'm a licensed civil. So, and we're running out of people in the field. So if similar to planning and other organizations, if you guys can find internships, even if they're unpaid, it is worth it. But I am a fan of paid internships. I'm just going to say that again. Me and the city manager have talked about it, but because free work is not really something that I like to encourage. But it does give you the opportunity to really get a handle on the industry, and it is ever changing. I know that the Hazardous Materials Committee that I sat on for the county, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities out there, and look to us as resources. During this effort, we're going to look to you as leaders. So we're, this conversation needs to keep going. And I think that contacting Kapil and staying in contact with him and making sure that if you guys do have things that come up, that they're at least voiced. And that podium is every other Tuesday open for any comments. Right? Anything you see around the city, please come out, go on record, and voice that so that it becomes a public document and public forum. Again, to the young lady, public speaking is always hard. It never gets easier. You just kind of get over the fear of it, but the more you do it, the better you do get at it. So it's something that I struggle with as well. So when I heard that, I was like, oh man, I know. But thank you again for being here with us. Thanks again.
Thanks so much. And we have Councilor Martinez-Rubin. Any questions?
I do have questions. I have comments as well, and I have a good deal of gratitude to have you be here with us. So when you come to a location or an event like this or a venue like this, think of this as your home as well. And think of not necessarily being having to master every single word, but that you're sharing what you know with us. We don't know everything. The kinds of plans and projects that council members have talked about have been a collective work with staff and many, many, many hours of thinking about it and hashing it out and eventually getting it on paper, or getting those documents on paper so they form a document that can be shared with anyone, and that includes you. So if your call for support of implementing climate literacy in your school system is about City Hall sharing such documents with you, it's something certainly that is doable. It's a matter of knowing that those documents are there, and or finding out from your liaison like Kapil, who's very much into this very field and has helped us greatly as council members to implement the kinds of plans that have taken a few years to put in place. Let me go back to when I was your age, and I believe in pipelines. I believe in the importance of also being involved on a project, getting hands dirty, and I know that your hands are dirty because I got them dirty with you when we were at the community garden, several months ago now. So I met some of you there, and I'm so glad to see that you've continued. And I know, for one, that one of the challenges of being a leader is to have people who don't necessarily believe in what you're doing just yet to join you. So that has to do, one of the questions, that's a lead into my question about the enforcement of the policy that you want to implement and having other students help with maintaining the campus clean. It's a long effort, long time effort, overdue, and it can be every day. So I'm curious about how that's going to happen and how the administration is going to help you with that, because I think it's more than just peer pressure that helps with that. I am going to put a plug in about schools of public health and professional degrees in schools of public health. So I am a public health educator by training. So public speaking came to me very early on in my career. And yes, it's something that can be learned. The more you do it, the more you get better at it, just like anything. In the schools of public health, there are several tracks, and one of them is environmental health, which focuses on environmental studies and research ordinarily and the applications of theory in the field. And there is also the field or section having to do with epidemiology, the collection of data that's specific to diseases and trends and new cases and the prevalence, the existence of certain conditions. Quality of water, for example, is one of those things. So when you all are out there collecting data, and I know that's not always the most fun thing to do, it is very important because the data speaks, and data helps support opinion. Everyone has an opinion, and so we need to balance opinions with information that's gathered systematically and representatively. And so those are the kinds of things that one learns in schools of public health. So think of that. There are bachelor's degrees and there are master's degrees. I have a master's in public health focusing on behavioral sciences, health education, and population family health. I just happen to love studying, and I study, and took lots of courses and ended up with several majors. So that's been my career. This seat here has been of service. It's not my career. And so it's a learning curve as well in wherever I've gone on to somewhat share some of what I know, but actually one of the bigger challenges and bigger skills that one learns in any kind of setting is interacting with each other. As I said before, everyone has an opinion. And working with each other toward a common goal is great. It's successful, it's wonderful, it's a sense of success, and it's also challenging. And so you, I'm sure, have endured many challenges as you've come to know each other, and here we are benefiting from the success that you've had working collaboratively with each other, and that's wonderful. So keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for helping us keep the quality of Pinole in a level where we are happy to be here, and we also invite guests to our city to enjoy our city. And the other question that I have, and this is more to our trustee, with the policy about single-use plastic, is that something that is being spearheaded by Earth Team at Pinole Valley High School and is an example of something that is being done school by school, or is there a district-wide policy to ban single-use plastics? Thank you. Yes.
Pinole is a leader in everything, as we said before. The idea that these kids have to ban single-use plastics, to make sure that we are using utensils and other food equipment in a way that is more than just one time. It's something that the district takes very seriously, but it's something that has to be led by students, right? Because the district is 55 schools with a whole bunch of stuff going on, but this is an important issue. And as I was sitting here listening to you guys, what I hear is, as the Earth Team, what they hear from you guys is this council is committed to making Pinole better. And one way that I know all of you can help, and it only takes 3 of them, is put that money into this project. They're always gonna need, even though y'all didn't ask, when you come in front of people, always ask for money. But even though they didn't ask, that's something that's going to be necessary to get it off the ground, keep it off the ground, and push this initiative to make sure that this is how we wanna move our district in a better way. So when they come back to you, they will have that ask about what it takes to keep this project and to keep it off the ground and move it off the ground. Curriculum is hard. We have a whole process in the district about how we adopt curriculum. But what are those easy lifts that you can do for these students? That's what they should be able to come back to you with. And again, if you're taking out plastic straws or the forks and all of that stuff, that goes through the district process, but it also starts at the local level. It goes to them talking with their administrator and talking with Pinole with their lunch time and seeing what it looks like. But Pinole Valley High School, they got extra trash cans because their administrator pushed for it. Big high school, not enough trash cans, not enough recycling, not enough where the kids can throw their stuff away. And so he fixed that because he saw the problem, he listened to the students, and it got done, right? Pinole Valley High School is a much cleaner place because y'all can't go inside and eat now. Y'all gotta eat in a different way because we wanna do it. So to your point, Councilwoman, it is something that the district is working on, but if it's a groundswell at one site that pops around to other sites, it'd be a benefit if the kids need to reach out to me and let me help you navigate on the district level. Always willing to do that. I'm complete.
Thank you. One more before, if you, Earth Team, this is one, as far as I knew, it's one campus where Earth Team was. Is there still another Earth Team elsewhere at another campus? Is that it's still at Richmond High, maybe?
Yeah, we have multiple Earth teams. I believe there's one at Richmond, Berkeley, Skyline, Pinole.
Within the West Unified School District, though, I'm thinking about.
Richmond, for sure.
So we have 10 campuses that we work with. We have 10 campuses we work with all around the East Bay. So yeah, in Contra Costa County, we work with Pittsburgh, Antioch, Richmond, Pinole, and then we go down into Alameda County as well.
Okay, thank you. So again, in terms of collaborating with school districts or with school district, then we got, yes, a groundswell at Pinole Valley High School, more work to be done elsewhere. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. The only question I have is about the 3 strikes policy. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And are you all the ambassadors of keeping track of that, or how are you all doing that?
Okay, so our 3-strike policy would be, as mentioned, if we catch you littering to a certain extent after 2 times, then we would enforce either community service, which would be either within the school after school, doing at least an hour, or it would be doing community service, whether it's at our public garden or at our library or other places like that in our community as well. It would be enforced hopefully by our administration, but also mainly through students and through our team especially. So we do want to get that implemented, and it's kind of like a for student by student situation. We want to see students at Pinole Valley seeing how much we care as students for our school and environment, and hopefully lead them into also caring as much. So yeah, thank you.
Gotcha. Thanks so much for explaining that. Do we have any public comments, City Clerk?
Yes, thank you. Online, we have Rafael Menes.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, members of the public. I'd like to echo members of the Council in congratulating the student body on their presentation tonight. It was a lovely presentation, and as many of the council members said, it gets easier to speak in public as you practice at it. I just had one question about one item in the presentation. You mentioned that the fire marshal had stated that all of Pinole was a very high fire hazard risk area. But the city of Pinole has a relatively recent news article on its website saying that our fire hazard severity zones have recently been reclassified as moderate. Is the thing you're referencing a different fire hazard zone that I'm unaware of, or is it just some other source or something else going on? Thank you.
So the article that I got that information from was about 2 to 3 years ago. Although I understand that the severity zone now is slightly less dangerous to us, I still believe that it is a relevant issue, and that is why I still included it in the presentation.
Thank you so much. City Clerk, do we have any other public comments?
Yes, Anne Moriarty.
I just wanted to say thank you for putting aside staff time to work on this for the grant that has been coming. Friends of Pinole Creek Watershed has been working with Earth Team for several years, and we're very proud of that collaboration, as I am proud as I listen to all of you and watch you. The first time that we really interacted this year, it was pouring rain outside. and there was a great number of these students who brought family members and such, and we all got out there and got wet together. And so their commitment and their work is really speaking for itself. And I love the fact that you said, I read through this, I saw it changed, but I still feel that it was important to keep, and so I kept it. So you had a reason for what you were doing. So anyway, we just want to say thank you to the City Council for your support, and thank you to Earth Team for the collaboration. We look forward to many years in the future. Thanks. Well done.
Thank you. City Clerk, any other public comments for this item?
No other comments.
Thank you. And again, just want to thank you all for being here. One thing that Mayor Pro Tem had mentioned is that podium is open and available every other Tuesday. So please come back if you have any issue you want to talk about. As my colleagues are plugging their various professions and areas of study. Wow, no love for political science. I was a political science public service major, and we need people on this dais and that side of the dais as well. So please consider that. We need good advocates to make sure we move policy to progress our community. So thank you so much for being here. Just a round of applause for everybody. Thank you so much. All right. So with that being said, we'll move on to our second presentation, item 8B2, which is Pinole Valley High School Principal Introduction by our Principal, Todd Irving. And just want to welcome you and pass it to staff for introductions.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I am very excited tonight to present Mr. Todd Irving, principal at the wonderful Pinole Valley High School, as you just saw. Mr. Irving, please come on up.
Thank you for allowing me to come and present to you. How much time do I have? Because I want to make sure I'm respectful of your time, but I want to make sure I hit some key points.
We try to keep it around 10 minutes.
Perfect.
Perfect, thank you.
So what I want to do is share a little bit about myself so you'll know who I am. And then I'm going to share what my vision was coming into Pinole Valley High School and where we're at right now. And so I think that's important. So next slide, please. So as you can see right here, this is a picture of my family. And I think as you look at my family, going into my job, I have to treat every single student as if it's my son or daughter, my niece or nephew. You can see in the middle, that's my wife. Her name is Dr. Tesha Sengupta Irving. She's a professor at UC Berkeley. We've been at Vanderbilt, UC Irvine, and now we're here. I have an older son with my grandson, Nick. He's a graduate of Long Beach State. Then I have my other son in a gray sweater. He's a graduate of San Jose State. My daughter, who is a graduate of San Francisco State, who is expecting my first granddaughter May 4th, which I'm super excited about. And then I have my younger ones, Naveen, who's a 10th grader, who's at Pinole Valley High School. So that says a lot for me that my son is at the school where I'm the principal at. He doesn't like it, but I like it. And then my daughter, Madhavi, who's in 8th grade. Next slide, please. So for me, this is my 36th year in education. And for me, this is something that's my passion, my calling, my ministry. And so for me, I've been in Southern California. I've worked in Long Beach Unified School District when it was the best urban school district. I worked in Compton during the state takeover. I've been in Nashville, Tennessee, working for Metro Nashville. But now I'm here with West Contra Costa, but I also work for UC Berkeley. I've worked for UC Berkeley the last 5 years in the School of Education, and my role there is coaching principals who are going into tough urban schools, helping them figure out ways to be successful. I'm also the facilitator at UC Berkeley for the African American Leaders Network, which is working with African American leaders, learning how to navigate the educational system so that we can be successful. So for me, this experience is what I bring into Pinole Valley High School. Next slide, please. So who I am, you have to go into a school with a plan. And for me, I'm all about equity. I've heard the panel talk about equity, making sure that we treat everyone in a respectful way. That's what I'm all about. If you look at my track record, I've been in Compton, Long Beach, South Central LA, Santa Ana, Richmond. I go to school districts where I am expecting everyone to be treated with respect, no matter what your race is, no matter what your financial situation, no matter what your zip code. But the core of that is collaboration, making sure I'm building trust, putting systems and structures in place, and leading by example. If I'm not leading by example, it's not going to happen. And so I'm going to hold myself more accountable than any other person. Next slide, please. So coming into Pinole Valley High School, this was my first 90-day plan. What I wanted to do was come in the first 30 days was just listen and learn. And what I do is something called 30 for 30. I met with every single staff member at the school, from the assistant principal all the way to the custodians, cafeteria workers. And what it was, what do you like about Pinole Valley High School? What can I do to improve? What is the way you like me to communicate with you? And something personal about you. So that took on a whole different life because it's me knowing who I'm working with. Then what I started doing is looking at data at the school. What are the key areas that we need to focus on? And I'll share with you that on one of the next slides. And now with our 60-day plan, we have about 42 days of school left. Now it's implementing what we've learned, piloting it for the remainder of the year, and then making sure we have a strong system at the beginning of the year. Next slide, please. Culture is everything. It's all about the culture. Whatever culture you build, that's what you want on your campus. I want people, when they walk on a Pinole Valley's campus, I want them to see, hear, and feel an academic setting where people want to be at the school. Next slide, please. So when I arrived at Pinole Valley High School, these are the 4 things I want to focus on. The first thing was our WAS accreditation. We were on a probationary status. And so, that's something that you don't want to be on. So that was a big focus, making sure that when we had our visit in March, that I addressed every single area of recommendation to show that we have shown some improvement and we have a plan for the future so that we can be successful. The second one was setting up the school climate and culture, looking at the climate and culture, looking at the curriculum, looking at the climate and culture, looking at the teacher professional development and teacher support. And then most of all, holding people accountability. I want to make sure if you set foot on that campus that when our students come on campus, you are doing everything that you can to be accountable so our students can be successful. Then looking at improving our academics. We always talk about we want to make sure that every single student is successful, but sometimes that doesn't always happen. What we're really looking at is our data, because our data does not discriminate. The data is just real facts. And so what we have to do is ask some real questions. What is our data telling us? What are we going to do to improve? And how do we know if we're going to improve? So coming up with systems and structures, and then teacher support. I want to create an environment where teachers feel I get to come to work, not I have to come to work. And then if I can retain about 90 to 95% of the teachers, that's the system, because there becomes that consistency at our school. So those were the 4 areas I really want to focus on coming into Pinole Valley before school even started. Next slide, please. So the first, 25 weeks, we were really focused on safety because we want to make sure the campus is safe. What's going on throughout the country, parents want to make sure that their kids are in a safe learning environment. We also looked at climate and culture, and we looked at academics. Next slide, please. So these are some things that we started to do to change the culture. We established building relationships with the staff. We developed school culture where everyone had a voice. And then we started implementing some programs and some intervention programs. What I really want to do was look at our 9th grade class, because we all know when 9th graders transition from middle school to high school, it's a tough year. So what are we doing to make sure our 9th graders are successful, but also looking at our 11th graders, because we know 11th grade is the toughest year. That's when you start getting a little bit tougher academics, you start applying for college, and we want to make sure that we're supporting the students in that way. Next slide, please. So this is something I've already talked about, is the climate and culture, some things that we were doing. Next slide, please. Talked about teacher support. That's something that we're doing, making sure that we're going into classrooms, giving teachers support, but what we also are doing, we're looking at teachers that has promising practices, teachers who we feel are experts in the classroom. So many times you go off campus to try to get professional development, but what I want to do is take advantage of the teachers who are experts in the building and have teachers who need some support go in and see them. And so we just recently started doing that, and we're finding that that's going to be successful. Next slide, please. One of the things that we wanted to do was look at our mission and vision statement. When I first arrived there, I felt that the mission and vision statement was not aligned to who we really are. And what I wanted to do is look at the mission and vision statement that the district has, and align it with what we're doing. And for me, our mission is making sure that when students leave our school, that they're empowered, they're resilient, and they're responsible young people. If we're doing this, that we're going to create where they graduate, they're going to have opportunities and options. They are going to be able to control their future. And what we're also doing is making sure that we're looking at our academic pathways and creating positive changes at the school for our students to move forward. This was done with the whole staff. This wasn't done in isolation with me. This was created by the whole staff, so everyone bought into our mission and vision. Next slide, please. So these are just some things that we did to start the school year with. I had grade levels for every single grade, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And in order for a school to move forward, you have to set the expectations for the students. And so we went through every single one of these. And so the students, they don't have any excuse. I tell the students all the time, I'm making my decision based on your behavior. Don't ever tell me you don't know what's going on. And so we found this to be very successful with the students. We just got back from spring break. We're going to have a follow-up meeting with the students this week, because what we know is that the last 45 days, that's when students tend to get laxed. That's when things happen. But we want to make sure that we reiterate the expectations that we have for the students. Next slide, please. So this is another slide that we went over as far as treating people with respect, but I'm going to really talk about embracing an anti-racist school. At Pinole, we have a very diverse campus. We have probably one of the most diverse campuses I've ever been at. So we need to respect everyone's race. It doesn't matter what you think, but when we come through those gates, we're respecting everyone. And so we talk about that consistently to the teachers and students. We have professional developments on it, because in order to become an anti-racist campus, we have to address some issues. We have to have some real conversations. And I think by having real conversations, we can move forward. Next slide, please. So with the WASP process, what we wanted to make sure that we were doing, really focusing on the areas that they made recommendations to us for. Next slide, please. These are the areas where they made recommendations to us. Data collection. The last time they came for a visit, there was no data that was collected. So what we wanted to do was implement a system and structures where not only we're collecting data, but we're having conversation, and this data is leading to improvement and instruction at the school site. We also support systems. What support system do we have in place for students who are struggling? This is something that we looked at, because instead of being reactive, we want to be proactive. And so what we started doing is looking at data real early in 9th grade, because that's the focus. Because we know if a student is struggling in 9th grade, by the time they're in 10th grade and they're in the second semester, we've lost them. And so we want to make sure we're looking at that. We're looking at our instructional practices. We're on a traditional schedule. That means we're teaching for 56 minutes. So how in 56 minutes do you make the magic happen in the classrooms? Where the teachers are giving content, students are having voice, they're being able to collaborate, and they're being able to share their learnings. So we're looking at the instructional practices, making sure that we're improving it so our students can be successful. And then we look at justice, and the justice goes back to an anti-racist campus, making sure that we're looking at our suspensions and expulsions, because what tends to happen with suspensions and expulsions predominantly is Black and brown students who are suspended the most. What are we doing in our system that is allowing this to happen, and are we holding everyone accountable like we should? And so we're looking at that. Next slide, please. So I talked a little bit about this. Next slide, please. So, the rest of the year, this is where we're at. We had our WAS accreditation March 5th, and I feel I'm like 99.9% sure we're getting off the probationary status, which is great. That's big momentum for the school because it's showing that we're moving forward in the right direction. We're working on our master schedule, and our master schedule is what the teachers teach. What I want to make sure with our master schedule is that it's complete, that every teacher knows their teaching assignment, but all of the classes are equitable for all students. What we're also looking to do is retain students, and then what I'm working on is a successful transition plan for our incoming 8th graders. In May, we're having every 8th grader who's coming to Pinole come and visit the campus. What I want to do is make sure they get a feel for the campus right now before school is out. And what I want to eventually do is a 2-day summer bridge program where they come to school for a couple of days. They get their schedules, they get their lockers, they go to classes, they kind of change periods to get in the routine of what high school is like. And then what I also want to do is implement a school-wide grading policy where there's equitable grading school-wide, because what tends to happen when students go to different classes, teachers grade in different ways, so that's inconsistency. And so what we want to do is make sure we have some consistency school-wide. Areas of growth that I've seen that I need to do as a principal for the remainder of the year and going into next year: ongoing communication with parents and community. You can always think you're communicating enough, but there's never enough. Every time I think I've communicated something, there's a parent that says, Mr. Irving, we wish that you would do it this way. So for me, just really listening and adjusting and learning to make sure I'm reaching everyone in the best possible way as far as communication. Also, parent participation. One of the things that we tend to think, once our students are in high school, we don't need to be involved. But I think high school is where you really want to be involved. We have 4 years with your students, and then they're out in the real world. I want this parent to know exactly what we're doing at the school, and then I want to make sure that we're participating in more city events. I want the city of Pinole to see the incredible things that we're doing. Just as our students were up here, we're doing some incredible things at the school. And one of the things I always ask, I don't ask for money, but what I do ask for is for each one of you to come on a campus, because I can sit up here and tell you this, but it's important for me for everyone to come on campus. When you walk on that campus, what do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? That's the marketing for me as a principal, because I want people to see we're moving in the right direction. And I've told my staff, I really feel in a 3 to 5 year time period, we're going to be one of the top schools in the country based on what we're doing with a diverse group of students, what we're doing with curriculum instruction, how we're supporting teachers, and how we're supporting our 9th graders. So that's the vision for me with Pinole High School. Next slide, please. So for me, in order for this to work, I have to have collaboration. It has to be a joint effort. My teachers, my front office, the campus security, the custodians, the cafeteria workers. It's important. As you can see here, Ms. Smith-Foles, my board member, is here. My director, Mr. DeLeon, is here. My assistant principal, Ms. Foucault, is here. My other assistant principal would have been here, but he's out sick. In order for this to work, it's a team effort. And for any success that I have, this could not happen without the staff or without the support of the district office. So I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to share a little bit of what we're doing. I tell people I've been there at Pinole for 31 weeks. And I think what we've accomplished in 31 weeks, it usually takes someone 2 or 3 years to accomplish. But I tell my staff, I'm never going to relax. I'm going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And I know sometimes they think I'm a little crazy, but I tell them, if we don't come to work every day with a high level of expectations, trying to get better and better every day, but also having the mindset that the students that we're teaching, those are our kids, we aren't doing what we're supposed to do. So that's my presentation. I thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come and share a little bit about me, the direction that we're going at Pinole Valley High School, and just my goals for the future. Thank you.
I just want to thank you for taking the time to be here with us today. We really appreciate it. Council questions. I'll start with Councilor Martinez-Rubin first.
What do you do for fun? You're very serious. You have a very serious demeanor. And I was on your campus when you had some event going on. So I know that there are other things that you do to try to encourage that sense of camaraderie. And among those, I wholeheartedly believe that there's got to be an element of fun to have people want to join you. So how do you do that?
How do I have fun?
With your team in order to...
one of the things with my staff, I'm always having conversations with them. And what really helped me when I had the 30 for 30 conversations, one of the questions was, tell me something about you. And so I try to have conversations with them where it's personal about them. I know how many, I had a couple of teachers who just had kids. And I told one teacher, hey, when your baby starts walking, you got problems. And so he came to me and said, Irving, that's true. Now that the baby's walking, it's totally different. But what I also try to do, I check on them personally. Because what we try to do, and we've really established after the pandemic, we really want to check to make sure that the students were mentally well and ready to return to school. But we also have to deal with adults. And I think by having that personal touch with these adults, checking on them, that makes a big difference. And when you're doing that, you're creating an environment where people want to come to work, they're comfortable, and it, I think, builds a much more fun atmosphere.
Thank you. I would agree. And I think underlying that is that sense of knowing someone on a personal level is the beginning of building relationships, which do take some time.
Yes.
Throughout your presentation, and key to what your vision is that sense of fostering respect. And in a multicultural society and in a multi-ethnic and very diverse atmosphere that has different meanings and different connotations, what has worked for you? We can never learn too much about what that could mean.
I think my experience is what I bring to the school. I went to school in Utah. I worked in Orange County. I lived in Tennessee. So one of the things coming to a school like Pinole, it's very important that we respect everyone's race. And so for me, I can talk about it. I can also talk about it from being an African-American man in a leadership position. And so what I have to do is create an environment where people feel comfortable having the conversations and having a conversation in a way where you're doing some self-reflection. Because if you are doing a self-reflection when we're talking about race, it's not going to work. If you walk on our campus, we have, I think, 13 different languages spoken on our campus. It is a very diverse campus. And so what we have to do is be able to meet the needs of our students. If you have a mindset where it's not a growth mindset, it's going to be difficult. And so for me, I try to create the atmosphere where people are willing to take risks and do some self-reflection, but also realize that every person is at a different stage as far as reflection when it comes to race and class and diversity.
Yes, that's what I can say. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you for the presentation. Is the enrollment still at about 1,200 students?
Yeah, it's about, I think, 1265.
Right. That's a lot of people to be on campus and managing, so I just want to commend you and your team for doing that. I think a lot of times people forget that teachers are managing 21 to 31 people in a room, and it's not a difficult task on a day-to-day basis. So thank you guys. I mean, it's a difficult task on a day-to-day basis. So thank you for that. I guess for me, I know that in the community I've heard the impact where someone has just moved to Pinole and they're on a waiting list to get their student into the high school and may have to go to another high school. Is that still the case? I mean, that's something that has come up in conversations with other parents.
I think when you look at the numbers, the school numbers are built based on the number of teachers we have.
I see.
And so what we have to be careful of is that we don't go over the allotted numbers for the teachers. Because then what happens if we have too many students in a teacher's class, we're in violation of the teacher's contract. So we have to be very careful with the number of students that we have on campus based on our teacher ratio.
We just had a conversation about some of the careers that were thrown out that are starting to be impacted, but I would imagine teaching's one of them. How is the school or school district starting to address that, and really looking to the future as to who's going to come in so that we don't fall below those thresholds?
Well, that's a
loaded question. I know.
Yes, it's not a loaded question. I think I think our district is doing a lot of work to make sure that we retain teachers and we have the teachers in the right place. I think for me as a principal, whenever I have a vacancy, it's hiring the right teacher. I just don't want to hire anyone because it's the culture, it's the standard, it's the expectation. And so what I'm trying to build is a certain type of culture at the school. And so for me, when it comes to interviewing and filling vacancies, I have teachers to interview. It's just a matter of me finding the right one that's going to help move our school forward.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councilmember Murphy.
No questions for me, but Mr. Irving, thank you so much for making the presentation to our council. Really appreciate your work and your leadership in this district, and certainly in Pinole. We need leaders like you. It sounds like you also have just a great framework as well, as we just heard from our Pinole Earth team. You really do have a great framework of change management, and that's something we needed. Our trustee, who I spoke to several times, has so much faith in you, and that means a lot to me, certainly, and I think it means a lot to the Pinole residents. And so just thank you. Continue to keep us accountable and in your values of how to support you. I look forward to my next walkthrough of some schools and to get to meet you more. I will say, I let the time pass, but I've dealt with some controversial issues. That DoorDash thing that happened in August, that was a big thing for the students. I'm glad it's passed, but I was like, we've dealt with some controversial things. I've never got so much Instagram messaging from students about one item. But again, it says a lot about your leadership, because since then, I think the students have clearly, again, built so much trust and, frankly, love for your leadership in the school. So that means a lot to me, too, because those are my constituents, and I really appreciate your leadership. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Toms.
Yes, thank you for your presentation, and congratulations on almost completing your first year at Pinole Valley High School. I'm both an alumni of the school and had 2 out of my 3 kids graduate from Pinole. So through the years, I have been very involved in the schools. But what I wanted to find out from you is, how do I, as not a parent at this point, find out about what's happening as far as volleyball games or swim meets or special presentations? How do community members find out about things that they can participate in?
We have the parent portal that we use, and then we also have the PT Facebook that we use, and then we also try to put it on the marquee. And so those are 3 main communication channels that we're using right now. But if there's any suggestions or ideas where we can make better communication, I'm always open to make sure that the community knows. Because what I do want to build, I want to build a community where the school is the hub of the city, and that the city is kind of circling around the school. And even if you don't have a son or daughter at the school, but if you're a resident of Pinole, you know exactly what's going on when we have big events, when we have a play, when we have a football game, when we have just different events. I want the community to know.
Yeah, it would be nice to have a calendar available for community members. Being that I'm not a parent at this point, a lot of the information that's in the portal would be useful. You can get community support, for various events, and I think that's important for the school and the community.
Okay.
But again, thank you.
Thank you. One thing that really stuck out to me on this presentation was the reference to the anti-racism framework. And it's one thing to tolerate diversity and to celebrate diversity, but this takes it to a level, I think, students, it's really important for them to understand as a part of the culture in Pinole High School. So just wanted to if you could expand upon that and talk a bit more about how that's implemented and how students are being impacted by that sort of framework.
So when the teachers returned, the very first PD when they met me, I told them we were going to become an anti-racist campus. They looked at me. And what I did, I had a consultant come in and talk about what it means to be anti-racist campus. And it was some tough conversations. And you think about it, this is my first day meeting the teachers. And so they were looking at me a certain way, but I'm like, this is the way we're going to do things around here. Then what I did, I had grade level meetings with students and talked to them about what does it mean to be an anti-racist campus. And we talked about Black, brown, Asian, Filipino, our Brazilian students, our Puerto Rican students. We talked about gay, lesbian, transgender, questioning. We just named it. And when we named it, it gave life to it. Students felt comfortable. And so what I'm experiencing now at the school, I have so many students who have come to me and said, Mr. Irving, I feel very comfortable if I have an issue and I can bring it to you because you've addressed this. And so for us, this is how you build an anti-racist campus. And then also what happens if a student feels an adult is doing something that's making them feel uncomfortable, they bring it to my attention. And then what I do is just have a conversation with the adult because that's a teachable moment for me. Because sometimes we don't know what we're doing or saying as adults. And so I just want to make sure it creates that culture where we all feel comfortable. And so what I want to do is each year it gets a little better and better and better because we feel comfortable having a conversation. I think where we're at in this country right now, we have to have the conversations. If we don't talk about some of the things that our students are really fearful of, we aren't doing school. Because school is where we're supposed to teach, and school is where students are supposed to learn.
Thank you very much. One thing that is top of mind to us right now is immigration. Things happening at the federal level, families are concerned about. So I just wanted to ask you, what has been the temperature, the conversations happening within the high school and leadership and students around folks who have varying immigration statuses, and the response from the school in terms of different protections and resources available to students and families?
Well, the district has really laid out a nice plan for us, and our district has addressed it. I've addressed it with the teachers and the students, because I've had a group of students who came to me, asked me, what will we do if something happens or someone tries to come on campus and take them away? And so what happens is if someone tries to come on campus and take one of our students, we don't allow them on campus. It's just that plain and simple. Then I will call my director, Mr. De Leon. Mr. De Leon will come to campus and support me, and that's the way we would support the students. I also let the parents know that when their kids are on the campus, that they're safe. Now, what I'm also dealing with is our parents. Our parents are feeling uncomfortable coming to campus because they feel something's going to happen to them. And so what we're doing, we're trying to figure out the best way to communicate with parents through emails or a phone call, because the last thing we want to happen is a parent coming to the school and then something happened to them and then a student is without their mother or father. So we're addressing these issues, and there's no perfect plan. We're consistently evaluating what we can do better. And so, but we want to send a message that there's something that we're doing.
Thank you for that. And you said in the presentation, the beauty and the strength of this community in Pinole is our diversity.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very diverse. And so as you speak, give a presentation, I'm very inspired. I'm very inspired, very impressed, very proud of your leadership. So looking forward to working with you, and thanks for taking the time to be here and present to the council, staff, and community. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. City Clerk, any public comments on that presentation?
It looks like we do have a public comment.
I just want to let you know that is the reason why that's part of the reason why Pinole is so successful. It is leadership with a vision, leadership with a plan, a framework, leadership that has the students at the center and the community in its sphere. We are an anti-racist district. Pinole is an anti-racist school site. Anti-racism is very clear. Kendi says it, there is no neutrality in racism. You are either actively working to dismantle racism or you are not. So we as a district are actively working to dismantle racism in all of its forms. So that's what you see happening at Pinole, and it is difficult to create and maintain change, but it's a have to. This is an emergency for all of our students and their experience at school. You cannot learn if you do not feel safe. So that is what we're doing at Pinole Valley High School. That is what we are doing as a district. And I just want you to understand clearly that getting off of WASC probation is a huge step. When you are on probation in WASC, that means you have the ability to lose your right to your diploma. That means the diploma doesn't mean anything. If we would have kept down the road that we were on, the diplomas that children received at Pinole would just be paper. It would not allow them to enroll in college. It would not allow them to say that they were graduates. So that's a huge deal. And because of this administration and their team and the teachers and everyone that was involved in WASC, they are going to get off of probation. I am secure with that because I was there at the meeting and WASC was very impressed with the steps that the school has taken. So I just want to reiterate that, underscore that, how important that is, because that is a huge, huge deal. I also want to thank the Pinole staff and De Leon and everyone that was here to support this. You're needed at Pinole Valley High School. Please don't shy away from it. The principal has an open door policy. There's an open campus policy. Check in with the office. But you are needed there. You're needed at the PTA meetings. You're needed to volunteer and chaperone for homecoming. All of you, I suggest, get badged. Please go through the badging process and show up at our schools because the kids need you and we need you because that's the only way that we can be successful. I won't say it takes a village, but it takes a village. All right, and that's it. Thank you very much. Feel free to clap. Thank you.
City Clerk, any other comments?
No other comments.
All right, thank you. So just want to thank again Trustee Smith-Foltz for being here, Principal Irving, all the staff and administration for being here and taking the time every day. We really appreciate it. That does it for our presentations. We'll now move on to item 9, which is our consent calendar. City Clerk, do we have any public comments on item 9?
Yes, thank you. We have Irma Ruport for item 9E.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and public again. I just want to thank you to staff. I was here at the Citizens to be Heard regarding the council retreat summary agenda items and past agenda items that I requested through the PRA request. What happened is I got yesterday's PRA request from past agenda items, so I will look at it and review it and send my comments to you later. There are some agenda items you might want to look at that were given to me. And the next thing I want to comment about is the council retreat notes that was on January 31st, 2025. I guess 2.5 months is better late than never. I just don't understand why these minutes were not, agenda items weren't passed on to everybody. There's, I believe, 24 comments, 24 ideas, priorities that are on the list of priority items. One concern that I have is item number 7, selling or developing Faria House in the community corner. There's no such resolution for developing the Faria House. It's sell it. So if there's some kind of misunderstanding, that needs to be straightened out. Like I said, the council priorities are here. Apparently they're supposed to be, here's all the pages, and it's got attachments, and I want to thank the city manager for putting it together. It's about time. I think the public should be aware of all these council priorities, sustainable balanced budget, road plan, it's all here. I hope that you guys all review these items, bring them back to the public, to the minutes, to the meeting, agendize whatever as a report or communication, and make sure that we all are in the same page. We all need to get the community out there in this meetings and make sure we get participation. We're all in this together. We have a hard road ahead of us in the next 6 months, budget-wise. Let's take it serious. And I just want to make sure that the budget workshop, it will be what it is, community workshop, and not a presentation, not a, no questions to ask. We need that agenda item, the budget out before. And let's take this serious, because I am really concerned, as we all know, that a lot of our monies could disappear tomorrow. And guess what? Half of you guys will be gone. And I keep saying that because I've been through recessions at the federal level. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk, any other public comments?
No other comments.
All right. Any items to be pulled by the council? Seeing.
No, I'll move approval of the consent calendar.
Thank you.
A second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All right, City Clerk, please call roll.
Councilmember Toms?
Yes.
Councilmember Murphy?
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez Rubin?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tate?
Yes.
Mayor Sasai?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Tonight we have no public hearings and no old business, so we'll go to item 12, new business. First we have item 12A, which is an update on the Partnership for the Bay's Future Grant and Home Restoration Program. Director Whalen, welcome, and please take it away.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, council members. Happy to be here this evening to introduce to you Jared Murdy. He is our housing fellow that we are so lucky to receive through the Partnership for the Bay's Future. We won a grant, a staff capacity grant last year in 2024 to help us with some key housing projects. And so we have Jared with us, who has been doing work since February of this year in partnership with the Northern California Land Trust and the Richmond Community Foundation as well. So we also have Jim Becker with the Richmond Community Foundation here today to co-present with Jared to give you an update on the work that has occurred so far. So with that, I will let Jared take it away. Thank you.
Alrighty. So yes, as Lily mentioned, my name is Jared. I am the Housing Policy Fellow through the Partnership for the Bay's Future. And since we'll be working with the City of Pinole for the next couple of years, we just thought it'd be a good idea to kind of give you guys an overview of what we're working on and kind of go into depth on some of the programs as we move forward with them. So next slide. So first, just Partnership for the Bay's Future. It's a broad, kind of confusing construct, so I thought it was worthwhile to kind of explain it briefly. The partnership is essentially that. It is a partnership between a few organizations working towards the collective goal of making housing more affordable and accessible and equitable here in the Bay Area. It consists of the San Francisco Foundation, who manage the program and oversee the policy fund from which the grants are awarded. Coro Northern California, who are kind of like professional development experts. They oversee the fellowship. And Enterprise Community Partners, who are technical experts in the world of housing, among other things, especially here in Northern California. This forms the design team, who has overseen the grant applications and appointed fellows to the various community partners. The site team that we have is, as Lily mentioned, the City of Pinole and community partners of Richmond Community Foundation and Northern California Land Trust, and myself. Next slide. So here is the team. Asen Ndiaye, the Executive Director of Northern California Land Trust, is not here tonight, but as we move forward with other programs, he will be around to present them. In addition, we have Jim Becker, who will be speaking in a bit about the Social Impact Bond program that we were working on. And of course, you guys know Lily very well. Next slide. Yeah, so the three main programs we are working on over the next couple of years are listed above. First, we have the home restoration program that we will be discussing tonight. The overarch of it is to create a social impact bond that essentially uses private investment to acquire and rehabilitate dilapidated abandoned properties here in the city of Pinole, and then prioritize local and BIPOC first-time home buyers in the sale process. Doing so ensures affordable housing for Pinoleans, while also revitalizing neighborhoods and helping improve the community overall. The other two programs, which we'll discuss in the future as they continue to develop, is an affordable housing policy guide to essentially streamline and optimize our disbursement of the funds that the Community Development Department has access to, and ensure that those programs and approaches are informed by the community and the values of the city. Last, we will be working on a rental registry. We're currently in the process of feasibility assessments and understanding the best way to create this program that will essentially help the city keep track of their rental stock and use that information to make better informed policy decisions, but will also help protect tenants and also help landlords be more informed as they go forward with managing properties. Next slide. Home restoration program. If you guys have better names for it, by the way, feel free to share them with us. Next slide, we can talk about it. So just in terms of the overall history, background, context, the city of Pinole currently has a number of blighted properties. We've identified 10 so far that would be eligible for this program. These properties can take a toll on cities. On average, research that RCF has done has concluded it's around $12K per year per house for a city to manage. So far, in the identified properties have cost the city around $28K in inspection costs and outstanding fees alone, and that's just the code enforcement side of things. When you go beyond that into depressed property values and unpaid property taxes, lack of investment in the local economy, you can start to see this gradual drain on the city structure. Beyond finances, there's also health and safety concerns with these blighted properties. A lot of them are in various states of disrepair, some far worse than others. These can create problems ranging from break-ins and squatting to also rodents and vermin infestations that can spread to the local community. These homes primarily remain abandoned because frankly there's little profit in the restoration in regards to the private market. This is in the housing world what we call infill housing, or the missing middle, where in terms of it, especially in an affordable model, it's difficult to really pencil, taking a small home like this and dealing with figuring out who owns it and how to get it redeveloped and deferred delayed maintenance. So it's really difficult for anything that isn't a supported, mission-driven program to really get these houses back onto the market. Next slide. So this is obviously a map of Pinole with a heat map of code enforcement instances and a somewhat displaced display of some of the properties that we've identified for the program. And you can see how these properties kind of correlate with code enforcement violations. And this kind of demonstrates the way that restoring these homes can kind of create a stopgap from any downward spiral in these neighborhoods. And really improve and stabilize those locations. Next slide. So just a brief program overview, and sorry if I sound like a broken record, but we are going to reduce the amount of vacant blighted properties, promote home ownership amongst local home buyers, and attract private investment in the community, which Jim will be able to share more about. And there will be some latent effects around prioritizing local and equitable hiring and contracting, building sustainably. We expect that this will reduce code enforcement, keep folks here rooted in the community, and have the benefit of reducing property crime. Next slide. Again, just brief kind of objectives: identify, acquire, and sell homes, stabilize neighborhoods. And another piece that we're excited to do and partner with existing programs is creating a pool of emerging BIPOC developers and contractors. This is the way that Richmond Community Foundation has operated the program before, and we're excited to see what that means for the city of Pinole as well. Next slide. So I will be handing this slide off to Jim, who will talk about the social impact bond structure. He will also be talking about, and I apologize for the mismatching of this, but slide 13. So he'll talk about this one. When he says the next slide, it's 3 slides away.
Okay.
Mayor, Society, Council, good evening. My name is Jim Becker. I'm the CEO of, in Richmond, we go by Richmond Community Foundation. Outside of Richmond, you'll probably hear me refer to us as RCF Connects. We're a regional community foundation that serves all of Contra Costa County with, although we were anchored in Richmond, and that's our origin story, we also have offices in San Pablo, Pleasant Hill, and Bay Point. So we serve the whole county. But tonight's about Pinole. And I'm going to talk about this because actually this developed from a presentation I did a few years ago where I met with a council member who came forward and said, "Have you ever thought about Pinole?" And I said, "No, not really. What kind of blight does Pinole have? I've been to Pinole. I've been to downtown. I go to the Pear Street Bistro and the other restaurants. Is there a part of Pinole I'm not aware of?" And this was my own ignorance. And so we visited some communities, and I thought, all right, this can work. So my apologies initially for my assumption that Pinole did not have these issues. But now that we know that, a little bit about this. So when this began in Richmond, Richmond had 280 actively managed code enforcement properties that were costing the city, as Jared mentioned, about $12,000 a year per house, right? Including none of the paid taxes, none of the bonds were paid. It could be a real problem. And it's a problem here as well. So this bond structure that we created was necessary because in the affordable housing world, affordable housing dollars tend to come from the federal government or the state, and they're typically for large multifamily developments that financially pencil out. A lot of these properties are very challenged, and they don't necessarily pencil out. They're too small for state or federal dollars, and they're infill development. And so because of the way that they've gotten into this condition between tax liens and everything else, investors don't want them, right? They're like, yeah, we'll go to the easy ones. So we said, okay, City of Richmond, let's figure this out. And their bond attorney at the time was a guy named John Knox, and he came forward with this idea of creating a true investment bond where the city is the conduit issuer of the bond. The city has no obligation to repay the bond. That debt or that risk is held by the investors and by the community foundation. So the bond is basically the structure we use. And because it's private capital for public good, it's really flexible. So that's one of the big benefits, because we've had to do everything from abatement cleanups on some properties, which nobody wants to pay for. We had someone drive in an RV into one of the properties and light it on fire full of garbage and left it for us to deal with. So those kind of costs normally aren't covered in traditional housing funding. So by creating this flexibility, we've created a lot of easy ways fiscally to make this happen. So we have identified potential investors for this bond. And typically the bonds are structured in this way. It's a 5-year note that's payable from the program revenue, so the sale of the houses, the future sale of the houses, and it's secured by the cash and the properties in the portfolio at any point in time. So for banks, this is a good investment. This moves them from a satisfactory Community Reinvestment Act or CRA credit rating to an exceptional rating. And so for banks, particularly those looking to acquire other banks or get preferred lending terms, this is a good investment. We typically have a 0% interest rate on the bond, and then if there's any profit generated at the end of the bond term, that's split 50-50 between the investor and the program. Now, we're very fortunate that we've been able to generate that kind of an opportunity. So for the city of Pinole, again, if the city moves down this path, which I hope you will, the city would be the conduit issuer of the bond. We at RCF Connects, we would act as the borrower. Again, the bond is secured by the cash and properties in the program. And at the end of the 5 years, the sales to first-time homebuyers would help repay the bond principal and potentially any return back to the investor. Now, we mentioned down payment assistance too in Jared's previous offer. The other thing that we're bringing to the table is we have 2 down payment assistance funds as a community foundation. We have a Black Wealth Builder Fund, which will provide $20,000 to Black and African American first-time homebuyers. There's no income criteria. There is no debt criteria. There's no credit score criteria. You just have to be Black or African American. You can access $20,000 to help purchase one of our houses through this program, or actually any other house that you might want to purchase. We have a second fund, which is sponsored by U.S. Bank, where we have $10,000 grants to any first-time home buyer in this community. And there's a condition on it. If you're at 80% of area median income or below, you can buy anywhere. If you're over 80%, you have to buy in a majority minority census tract. So those are the conditions on the second one. Next slide, please, which I think you said is slide 13. Slide 13. Here we go. Okay. So what have we accomplished so far in the Richmond pilot? We restored 29 properties. We have 8 projects currently underway. We have focused solely on local hiring and contracting. We've increased neighborhood investment, and we've had a significant measurable reduction in property crimes in the Coronado, Iron Triangle, and Santa Fe neighborhoods, where most of these properties are located in the city. So remember, this is a $3 million bond. So over the period of the bond, we spent that just over 3 times. We did $9.2 million in local spending. We repaid $700,000 in code enforcement liens and unpaid property taxes. And let me tell you, our code enforcement department's very happy because they only collect on those liens if someone eventually buys the property. Otherwise, they're really not collectible because people just walk away. We had $350,000 reduction in code enforcement costs just by that they had to use to actively maintain them. So it's a pretty significant local community impact. Now, the other things that we've measured, and we had an evaluation team from the Saul Price School of Public Policy come out and do some additional evaluation for us. The properties that we had done so far added almost $100,000 a year to the property tax revenue for the city of Richmond. And new homeowners, according to the National Association of Home Builders, bring about $41,000 per household to the local economy every year. So you're looking at, again, a significant return to the community. The city's role in this is to help issue the bonds and then to allow us to work with your code enforcement department to pick their worst properties and target those and turn those back into sustainable housing. Now, I will say one more thing about housing, and Councilmember Murphy mentioned that he's on the MCE board, and we are being awarded the MCE's prize this Thursday at their board meeting for this work, particularly because the homes that we're building are advanced energy homes. They are part of the virtual power grid that MCE is building. So they have solar, battery storage, high efficiency appliances. They've also got, if they have a garage on the property or off-street parking, they've got electric vehicle charging stations. We include all of that in the project so that not only are the properties affordable to purchase, but they're affordable to live in and maintain. So thank you. Back to you, Jared.
Alrighty. So then if we could continue on to what would be the next slide from before. Yes. So we just thought it was really important to kind of highlight to the council the roles that each entity within this program will have. As Jim has mentioned, the city of Pinole's job is to issue the bond. By doing so, this provides a legitimacy to the program and helps with securing CRA tax credits and help kind of expedite permitting where possible, mainly just from sharing an office with folks in the permitting office. But we want to highlight, and we'll say it again and again, City of Pinole does not incur any risk and has no obligation to repay the loan. If no money gets made, nobody else gets paid. The site team, which again consists of myself, Lily, and our community partners, kind of provide oversight to the program, help integrate it into the city structure, identify target properties, and prioritize local and BIPOC contractors. RCF and NCLT, our two community partners, work as facilitators in the acquisition and rehab process and help identify first-time home buyers, and help us ensure that a portion of these properties are able to be sold below market, which is something we want to make sure we can pencil into the program. Last and arguably most important, we have our capital partners. Their role is to purchase the bond, incur all of the risk, and get themselves that CRA credit award. Next slide. As Jim mentioned, we're going to make them affordable to purchase and maintain through zero net emission building design, and smart and solar and efficient appliances and materials to not only help build more sustainably, but also reduce the living costs to homeowners by reducing utility and maintenance expenses, and help strengthen the green development market in Pinole, which I know is something that the city is very excited about. Next slide. So moving forward, and this is not happening tonight, but our next steps really are council approval. So once we can kind of iron out some other pieces and maybe get some feedback where possible, we'll be able to present a more official proposal. Then move forward with or continue to work on developing the actual policy and implementing it. And then once we kind of have things finalized, we can really move forward with the partners that we're identifying, and begin to do some financial modeling and, get some housing built here in Pinole. So that is all I have for you guys. And if they go to that last slide, there's just a couple links to some reports. So this first one is just kind of covering the Richmond program that Jim was discussing, and an article talking about the power plant green things that they were doing. And that is not my wheelhouse. So yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. We'll do council questions with Councilor Tom starting.
Yeah, thank you for that presentation. I was jotting down some questions as we were going along, and you answered most of them as you went along. But my question on the bond, typically bonds are like 30 years, and the 5-year repayment, does that then become a revolving loan with the same money where a bond is paid back to the foundation and then it's available to be reused, or is it retired?
Yes, I will let Jim talk, but in brief, yes.
Yes, so Jared is correct. The short answer is yes, that the bond through basically that we amend the indenture agreement, and that agreement continues the bond for another 5 years. We are now in our third indenture agreement in the city of Richmond. We are in our first one with the city of Fresno. So Fresno's adopted this. They're the second city now in the state to move this forward. Pinole would be the third if Pinole decides to move forward. But yes, basically it acts like almost like a zero interest revolving line. And the funds get used. We acquire, we sell, money goes back into the bond fund. We buy, we sell, money goes back into the bond fund.
And who does all of the indenture agreements and all of those for closing? Is that the foundation, or is that the city that's responsible?
So we worked with Orrick Harrington Sutcliffe, which was the city of Richmond's bond counsel at the time. They created all of the bond documents as templates for any city to be able to use. I will say, though, that we're also exploring a new idea. We're working with Mechanics Bank to create a structure that might not require the issuance of bonds. Now, there's certain values to the banks to purchase the bonds, but there's also a possibility that they might be able to create a new banking instrument that might allow the same process without the sale of bonds. We don't know if it's legal yet. We don't know if it will happen, but for a lot of cities, particularly smaller cities that don't have like an ongoing bond counsel on retainer, this can be a challenge. And so we're trying to address that as well. But typically in the case of Richmond, Orrick Harrington Sutcliffe developed the model pro bono. But the city of Fresno, which has adopted it and moved forward, paid for the attorney's fees out of the bond funds. So $3 million bond down there, just like ours up here. They went forward, they paid the attorneys for creation of the bond documents. We brought in the investors, and they moved forward from there.
Okay, that was going to be my next question is there a possibility of those costs and staff costs be covered through the bond issuance?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you, Mr. Becker. It's good to see you. Wonderful to see us push forward this program. And I know it was just about a year ago that maybe the Partnership for the Bay really started pushing its programming. So it's really exciting to kind of be here. I do have one question about one of the slides about the roles and responsibilities, if you can go back to it. And I think this is something that we, certainly as an MCE board, we've also discussed, right? Because issuance of bonds is not the sexiest topic, and that's okay. Maybe if we just start talking about it a little bit more in a way that intersects with environmental and housing justice, I think we'll get there. So I wanted to, if you can go back, Dave, to, or whoever is controlling the slides, to the roles and responsibility.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Wonderful. So this is wonderful, and I love the layout. Help me in the public understand MCE's role in this. Obviously, you spoke to the virtual power plant a little bit, and we already have done that program in Richmond, but now we're moving or expanding really to Pinole. Help me understand MCE's role, and then of course, age-old question for this council is we always want to understand who's doing the communications to the public, who's educating people about these processes. Where is that standing?
Is this counting? So I cannot speak too much to the MCE stuff, so I'm maybe handing most of this off to Jim. But yeah, my understanding in terms of getting out to the public is both Richmond Community Foundation and Northern California Land Trust already kind of have some home ownership programs that we'll be tapping for identifying homeowners. We'll also, I imagine, be making this public information as well. But that is a big piece of the promotion. But I will hand it off to Jim for the MCE stuff. Sorry to make you
It's
up and down.
It's okay. So one of the advantages of having private investors in this is they have marketing departments too.
Okay.
And so our investors in the Richmond bond and now in the Fresno bond, their marketing teams have been put at our disposal to promote this, right? So to promote not only the role that the city is doing this, that it's, the values and benefits of the project, how to get in the queue to become a first-time home buyer for one of these potential properties. All of that is done in partnership with the usually the investors marketing team, because it's a big promotion for them too. The project's won several awards over the years. We just about 2.5 weeks ago, we won the East Bay EDA's Community Impact Award at their big gala, so that was very exciting. And we will also do our own. So we have very strong connections with the local first-time homebuyer programs. And what we've done, which I think works really well, is their graduates get first right of purchase. So we work with local realtors, we price the property below market, and then those graduates can, if they desire that particular house, they can buy that house for that price without competition, and it never goes on the market. I mean, it's a very kind of unique system that really benefits people and builds community wealth.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. I do want to say, and again, thank you for your presentation about the impacts that you've been having, particularly with funding for code enforcement officers or for those departments. So just to our staff, very interested as we continue this, or if we do move forward with this program, when we move forward with this program, really understanding from our perspective as a city what our liabilities are. Obviously, there's no liability with the bond, but again, staff time, in what ways are we also, saving money? I think those are great KPIs to a program like this. I think they obviously underscore even more KPIs of just building an affordable and living community that we want. Specifically, Pinole is such an integrated community, but still, as you've seen, has its own challenges in affordable housing. And so I'm just really interested in how we, just understanding that data as we continue this program and expand it here in Pinole. But thank you so much. This is wonderful. And again, congratulations to the RC Connects for the Charles McGlashan Award that you'll be getting this Thursday. You all have been doing some wonderful work, and you're very deserving.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Tave.
Thank you for the presentation. And I know time-wise, we were trying to keep these short, but this is a really interesting topic. Because I'm seeing this as something that, you guys mentioned, home restoration programs, right? And the affordable housing. I'm just thinking of all the things that hit a homeowner, or blindside a homeowner, tree falling on the house, or sewer lateral goes out, or, and looking at this bond program, I'm just wondering if you can walk us through what a person can expect. So if it's a 72-year-old person in their home, single, and the house they can't get to the maintenance, right? They're on a fixed income. How does this program help that person? And then moreover, how do you, if that person decides to sell the home, is that the type of property that you would look at as, okay, let's buy this property for the assessed value? Is that assessed value something that person walks away from clear, free and clear with the sale, or is it something that I'm trying to understand? What is that person? And then a lot of people sometimes, like, parents pass away and they have a home that they already live in their own home and can't, you know what I mean? So I'm just trying to understand what are the properties that you're looking at?
Sure. Yeah. So first of all, it's properties that are really giving code enforcement nightmares. These can be properties that have been abandoned and the house was demolished 10 years ago and we'll build new. These can be properties where, like you said, mom and dad lived in it and the kids lived maybe on the East Coast and they passed away and no one took on the property and it's got $100,000 in unpaid tax liens. We would take on something like that. If there's someone living in it currently and the house needs repair, we would actually refer them to one of our partners, Rebuilding Together. They would come in and actually, if someone's in the house and, owns the home, that they have a lot of deferred maintenance, they can assist with that. So that's not one that we would normally target for acquisition unless they want to sell it and we can make it pencil out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how does, I guess, is the money, this nonprofit? I mean, or how does the wash?
Yes, we're not for profit, right?
Okay.
So we're a community foundation, just like San Francisco Foundation or East Bay Community Foundation. We just have two sides of our house. We have our grant making side and our initiative side, which is more sort of programs that we either facilitate or operate directly.
Mm-hmm.
And so this sits in that side of the house. But we used our foundation side to create this model of financing. So the way that this would typically work, let's say, for example, the person passes away and their heirs, don't want the property, they've walked away from it, and the city tore the house down 10 years ago because it just fell apart. We go through the probate court process. So what happens in this situation is that, and this is a loophole in the state of California tax law that we learned about when we were talking to our county tax collector and treasurer, it basically said, if we don't have anybody to serve notice to, we can't really sell the property, right? We've got to find an heir, but we don't have the resources to try to track down an heir, so it just sits. It sits in their probate limbo forever. The bond funds, because of their flexibility, allow us to actually pay the probate costs to bring it to public sale. And 9 times out of 10, we are the successful buyer. In one case, we were not. And that was okay because someone else bought it and fixed it up and they moved into it. So, there is that flexibility in the bond and in thinking about how to acquire the properties. So a big part of it is when we sit down with code enforcement and we identify the properties like we have on the heat chart that Jared showed. The other thing we look at is who's the last known owner of record, who should we approach if possible. We also know that if the city has code enforcement liens on it, we don't have to wait 5 years for it to come to public sale. The city can actually push it to public sale in 3 years. So the difference between an abandoned property in 3 years and 5 years is the difference between it might still have a roof and half of it's burned down.
Got it.
Right.
The other question I had, and this is kind of stuff that we've talked about over the years about public banking and how you just mentioned something about Mechanics Bank being there as a conduit. Have you worked with public banks and looked at the relationship between those two? Because I would imagine there's a little bit of flexibility and that would close the circle on public dollars.
Yeah, so we've not done public banks yet. Public banks don't have the same CRA requirements that private banks have. So private banks have to do these kinds of investments, especially if they want to grow, get better rates on their borrowing and everything else from the Federal Reserve.
Well, cities have to do that too.
Cities have to do that too. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But the public bank doesn't necessarily have to do that. They have to invest with you as a city, but they're not subject to the same Community Reinvestment Act laws because they're a different animal in that regard. So they've not had an interest in it yet, although we are certainly supportive as the foundation of public banks, and we've been supportive of the effort that's going on in the East Bay to try to create one. I think it's a really good idea. But right now, we've not done that with private banks or with public banks.
Yeah, it's not there yet, but I'm just seeing this as something that could grow into. But, okay. No, thank you for the presentation. It was great stuff.
Thank you, and Councilor Martinez-Rubin.
Mr. Becker.
Yes.
It's good to see you.
Again. You as well. This started almost a year ago when you walked me around the city.
A little over a year ago, and it's a nice feeling.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been asking about you, Jared. So welcome. No, I just want to say welcome. Right. The two questions. The example you gave us about City of Richmond and the outcomes since it started. Over what period of time are we talking about? So
That's over 8 years.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like to ask a question about time because I think it's important to remind us all that quality work takes time, and all people who are involved, all the parties who are involved, need to be found at just the right time. Right. Thank you. And it doesn't happen necessarily in any single council member's term. Thank you. Yes.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay. The other question I have is about your investors. Investors in something like this. Ordinarily, what kinds of parties invest?
Well, I'm sorry, what kind of?
Investors.
What kind of investors?
Yes.
Mostly banks, mostly institutional
Mostly
investors.
Banks. Okay.
Yeah. We've had some conversations with insurance companies. They haven't bought into the idea yet, but they are also institutional investors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Darn.
But mostly banks, I know.
Okay. All right then. Yes. Well, $3 million to start is not a tremendous amount. Of course, that's relative, but the to keep the interest, and I'm just saying enthusiasm, interest, and to understand better how a program like this works is very helpful, and certainly, I think, as you know, to address an area of need in the city of Pinole is important, and to include individuals who would not otherwise have the benefit of being supported to own a property themselves is important. Personally, is a means that cities can help create wealth in their communities, generational wealth, which is important. So for all those reasons and the many reasons that you outlined in your presentation, I'm thinking just to bring in a little bit of fun in here is like, you know, those judge, you get a 10.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Lily for having all the many conversations you've had up to now to to bring Mr. Becker and the proposal at this point to us.
Right. Thank you again for being here for the presentation. Only question I had was on the steps moving forward. Can you just talk about the timeline? Two things mentioned here is council approval, ordinance development and implementation. Can you give more specifics about what is needed there? And then what is the timeline to get to fruition?
Well, you take it away.
I'll start.
Yeah.
Sure. So the one of the things that we realized when we put this together is that these kind of bonds can probably be used for other projects that we haven't even thought of yet, right? That kind of private capital for public good is a really good strategy. We happen to do it for turning blighted properties into beautiful homes, but there's probably other opportunities too. So we developed a model ordinance for cities to look at that says basically that, the city will issue these types of bonds, not just for this program, but for other potential programs in the future. It's obviously more lengthy than that, and was written by the city's attorneys at the time. But that would be sort of step one, because that really says to the community and to the investors that the city's behind this, right? The city's willing to take this step with us in partnership. I don't know how your council works as well as I do some other cities, but that process could take 60 days maybe, or so, depending on what you have on the agenda. For the city of Richmond and the city of Fresno, they were different. They had different numbers of public hearings before the bond was put on the market to investors, before we could sell them. So Richmond, I think they had 3, so it was 90 days of public hearings. Fresno was 2 public hearings that were 30 days apart. So it seems to differ by city. I don't know what Pinole's is, but there would be time for that. And then we do the investor presentations. We have a number of investors who want to come on board with Mechanics Bank and be the next investors in this kind of model, because it's gotten national attention. We actually were recognized as a national model by, of all places, the EPA. Now, the EPA used to fund this project. I don't know that money is going to come again anytime soon, but they used to do some of the brownfields cleanup and stuff on some of these sites because they're magnets for illegal dumping. And you got to get rid of that, and you got to clean that dirt. So that could be a challenge going forward. But right now, things look at least promising.
Gotcha. Thank you. And can you be a little bit more specific on the particular ordinances that have to be developed and implemented as it relates to this program?
So so basically for council approval, we typically would ask the city council to say, we're behind it. We're going to allow Lily to work with us to develop the model, put the fiscal modeling together, and come back with sort of here's how Pinole's is going to work, right? So that's would be one council approval. Then the model ordinance, again, is just an opportunity for the council to go on record as allowing this council and future councils to potentially issue these kinds of bonds or renew an indentured agreement if the first bond is as successful as we think it will be.
Thank you. And one thing I saw that was mentioned here was a rental registry part of the program. I've seen this implemented particularly in El Cerrito, where they also had to bring forward a rent registry ordinance. Is that part of what has to be approved by the city council as well?
Yes, so that will be like a separate program that we're working on. But that will also, yes, obviously need council approval. And once we're able to move forward, we've been interviewing cities such as El Cerrito and several others in the Bay Area to just figure out what the most effective way to develop one is for the specific rental stock here. But yes, that will also need a separate council approval.
Great, thank you. Those are all my questions. But again, thank you for all the work that you've been doing on this and the presentation. And fully support all of this. This is great work. So thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Right. And do we have any public comment? No public comments on the city clerk?
No public comment.
All right. With that being said, staff recommendation is to receive and file. Any motions?
So moved.
All right. Motion and second. City clerk, please call roll.
Councilmember Toms.
Aye.
Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Councilmember Martinez Rubin.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tave.
Aye.
Mayor Sasai.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Sounds good. With that being said, we'll take up item 12B, fiscal year 25-26 master fee schedule. Director Guillory, welcome, and please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, staff, and members of the public. For item 12B, I will be providing a presentation on the proposed master fee updates for the fiscal year 2025-26. Next slide. So a bit of background on the master fee schedule. The city does maintain the fee schedule, and it identifies applicable fees for various city services that are assessed on an individual basis for particular city services that are not of community benefit but are of direct benefit to the individual user. Fees are reviewed annually and updated accordingly. And just overall, cities collect fees and charges for government services performed at the request of or specifically for a particular individual, business, or group, as opposed to services that are performed for the city as a whole, such as public safety services. Next slide. So to show the distinction between community-wide benefit and the benefit to the individual users, our communities primarily use tax revenues, such as property tax and sales tax, to fund city services that provide general benefit to the community as a whole. And some examples would be public works, public safety, and park maintenance. On the other hand, communities use fees and charges or direct recovery to fund services that provide direct benefit to an individual user for a particular city service, such as plan review, permitting, and inspections. Next slide. So fees that are included in the master fee schedule for the city of Pinole include administrative fees, building fees, planning fees, engineering and encroachment fees, public safety fees, and non-development related fees such as recreation and business licensing fees. Next slide. So how are fees determined? They are governed by the California State Constitution, Article 13C, and in accordance with California Government Code, which says that costs are allocated to the payer should bear a fair and reasonable relationship to the payer's burdens on or benefits received from the governmental activity. Also, fees should not exceed the reasonable cost of providing the service for which the fee is charged. So government or cities are not in the business of gaining a profit for these fees, but we should only be recovering up to 100% of the cost of providing that particular service. The city also has a revenue policy for user fees and charges, and it empowers the city to recapture through fees up to the full cost of providing specific services. Next slide. So here's the basic structure of the cost recovery policy, and we see that it goes from 0% up to 100%. At the 100% or top of this structure, this is for exclusively individual benefit, such as plan reviews or business licenses. And at the other end of the spectrum, at the bottom, there's 0%, which is for services that we can recover costs for that benefit the community as a whole, as opposed to individuals. And there are fees that can fall in between those two ends of the spectrum or the framework. Next slide. So looking at the relationship between cost recovery and subsidies, the city's target or aim is to receive 100% of its costs, and so the fees are set With that in mind, however, there are some fees that are subsidized, such as fees for some of our recreation programs, and then also some of our planning fees that we're not able to recover 100% of costs. And if we look at the difference between the full cost of providing the service and the revenue received from that fee, the difference between the two would be the city subsidies. And planning, some of our planning fees as well as recreation fees are subsidized, and they're subsidized at different percentages, just depending on what the fee is for. Next slide. So looking at some of the fee updates for the next fiscal year, as I mentioned before, our fees are reviewed, reviewed annually and updated accordingly. And then for fiscal year 2025-26, most fees are proposed to increase 2.7%, and that is based on the annual change in the Consumer Price Index for the San Francisco Bay Area region. And the 2.7% change is based on the months of February 2024 through February 2025. We are also proposing several new fees. They are primarily in the building and planning areas. Next slide. So looking at building fees, as I mentioned, most fees are increased by the 2.7%, except for those that are that have limits based on California State Code. And we are proposing several new fees, which are also detailed in the staff report and included in the proposed master fee schedule that's attached. Including some special inspection agency application review fees, some other pre-application fees, deferred submittals, rental program exemption fee, and then some fees related to accessory dwelling units. Next slide. We also have our planning fees increasing by 2.7%. And also introducing several new fees. And again, those are similar to some of the building fees, including pre-application meetings, business license review fees, and so on, and also 2 new fees related to ADUs. Next slide. In the engineering and encroachment permit fees, most of those increasing by 2.7 as well. And the new fees related to the ADUs are also included in this area. For recreation, at this point, the fees remain unchanged from last fiscal year, and this is because staff is conducting a separate fee study, looking at not only the current fees, but potentially adding fees and making some changes there. So that is requiring a more thorough assessment and analysis, so we will return to council at a future meeting to review those fees for the recreation department. And then business license fees, those are set by a different process, and they're pursuant to Pinole Municipal Code. Our last increase was in December 2024, so all business license renewals and business licenses for the calendar year 2025, the base rate is now $168, so it's a 5% increase from the prior calendar year, which was $160 at the base rate. So the Pinole Municipal Code says the only time we increase the business license fees is when the change in CPI is 5% or greater. Right now, it's increasing about every 2 years. Next slide. We also have police fees in the master fee schedule. Those remain unchanged except for the vehicle license fee, which is proposed to increase from $120 to $160, and that's based on cost of services analysis as well as what some of our neighboring agencies are charging for a similar service. Police fines and penalties are unchanged as they are regulated by Pinole Municipal Code, and any changes to those fees will require a change in the ordinance or a change that is adopted by ordinance. And then our fire prevention fees are set and collected by the Contra Costa County Fire Protection District, so no changes there. Next slide. For development impact fees, the city recently underwent a fee study for the development impact fees, and that was adopted by the City Council in January of this year. So the master fee schedule does reflect those updated fees. And then lastly, we have our wastewater fees. They're also included in the schedule. However, they are determined by a different process, and the current rates were adopted by the City Council last August. Next slide. So the next steps in this process is to conduct a public hearing that is scheduled for May 6th. This was just to give you an overview of staff's proposed changes before they are adopted. And if they are adopted on May 6th, they would go into effect in July. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thanks so much. We'll start with council questions with Mayor Pro Tem Dave.
So, looking at these fees, is it just generated off of the 2.7? I guess what analysis goes into? I mean, I saw the vehicle code one, but I mean, how much of that actually covers the costs? You know, with the chart that you showed had that subsidy portion. I'm trying to understand, you know, as our costs go up, as salaries go up, as benefits go up, 2.7 just seems low when we're doing that analysis. How do we? I guess is 2.7 the right number? And looking at all of our ordinances, when I sat on the municipal code, there was a lot of fees that were just old, and never updated, not compared to the rest of the cities around us. I'm trying to understand what kind of effort has to be made to go through and really start setting or truing those numbers up, and is it enough time for budget season?
Yes, so we did conduct a comprehensive user fee study. You may recall that was about 2 fiscal years ago. So what that did is a thorough cost of services analysis on all of the city fees at that time. We also added a number of fees, encroachments being one, where we're seeing significant revenue from that alone, just to give an example. And so that set the fees. And then what it says is, or our policy says, is that each year we go in and review and we can update those fees based on the consumer price index, which is what we've done. For the fiscal year 2025-26, we're budgeting for the next user fee study. So it's on a 3-year cycle. Typically, that's the industry standard. You don't do them every year, but every so many years in 3 years is the median that we're finding. So we'll have one coming up in the upcoming fiscal year. Another factor just along the lines of salary increases and things like that, we're looking at using a different inflationary index other than the CPI. So something that would match closer to employee salary increases, for example, would be the ECI, or the Employment Cost Index, which some agencies use. So the city standard practice has been to use CPI, but we would be looking at using ECI, which is a better reflection, because CPI measures a basket of goods, whereas ECI looks at salaries and benefits and just growth in salary costs, personnel costs. So we'll be looking to implement that the next round.
And there's no real way to kind of, without doing reserves, to kind of get ahead of those numbers, right? Like if there's projections that are coming out for the next 5 years, because we're bound by that government code, you have to basically make sure that it's reasonable within that range. And then
Right. It has to be. It can only be up to the amount that it costs to provide that service. And that's the purpose of the user fee study, is they'll go in again, look at salaries, look at benefits, see where we are, even materials and labor in some cases, some of those indirect costs, build those in as well.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilor Martinez-Rubin.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Guillory. How does the revenue projected from fees show up in our budget?
So it aligns with basically the fees that you see in the master fee schedule. There are accounts that we budget in. Now, when you see the budget document, it's all rolled up, right? You're not seeing all of those separately, but we do account for them separately. So they all have accounts that are associated with each fee, and they're included in the budget. But again, they're rolled up. We could also provide that level of detail if that's something you would like to see, but that's how we account for it. Does
No,
that
I think
answer?
for me, it'd be sufficient to know where in the projection for any given department, how the fees are subsumed or blended into a department's budget, and then perhaps more of that kind of explanation could be provided in the workshop.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, Councilmember Murphy.
No questions. Just want to say thank you, Director Guillory, for your presentation.
Thank you. Councilor Thomas.
And I have no questions. Thank you for a thorough report.
Thank you.
Thank you, and no questions from me. Just thank you for your presentation.
Thanks.
City Clerk Bell, any public comments?
No public comments.
All right. With that being said, we'll bring it back for council comments. Any discussion of the council? If there's no council discussion, I understand this is information only, and we'll be having a public hearing on May 6th, 2025. Great. All right. Well, that concludes that item. So thank you again. And we'll now move on to item number 13, citizens to be heard. This is the second citizens to be heard for folks who did not get a chance to speak at the first one. City Clerk, any public comments?
Just checking online. Nope, no public comments.
All right, sounds good. And moving back to item number 4, this evening we have one closed session item. Again, it is item 4A, a public employee performance evaluation, Government Code 54957, title City Manager. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comments on this item?
No public comments.
All right, thank you. We will now go into closed session, adjourn there, and we will be reporting out at the next City Council meeting. Thank you and have a good evening.